Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Dan.
Chris.
And Lee.
Is it definitely you this time?
It's definitely me.
That's...
Hello, podcasters.
Hello Chris. We are the podcasters.
Hello, podcast listeners.
That's better.
Podcastees.
Podcasties?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, we're podcasters. They must be podcastees.
We are podcasting
also,
on them.
Yeah, well, they're also podcasters as well.
Some of them are, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Podcastists.
Yeah, okay.
Podcast-ons. Anyway. This thing happened in Spain yesterday. There was a race.
There was a race.
And before that race, there was a qualifying session.
Yes.
Before that qualifying session, people practiced.
3 times.
Yes.
Yeah, you can tell you're not on form tonight. It was a great one this weekend, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Who would have thought that Alonso could do that with a McLaren?
In qualifying or in the race?
Because I could fully believe he did what he did in the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until he made his final pit stop and then basically just followed Vettel round at Vettel's pace. And
Set the 4th fastest lap time of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't all doom and gloom for Alonso, and had he not had that first lap tap with Felipe Massa, then it might have all panned out a little bit differently for him.
Points.
We seem
I
to
think
have
you've had
started off
points.
talking McLaren again.
Yes, well, they're not the first on the list.
Yeah, but we're talking McLaren in good terms.
We're talking them up for a change. Because they did say, oh, well, it might be Spain that things start improving, and the car seems to be a bit better. Not a lot, but a bit.
One of them.
The cars were fine.
Yeah.
Dan has a theory of this, and they might be A-B specking the cars, which would make sense. So,
Yeah,
that if the A spec didn't work, at least the B spec might.
I was wondering that because Stoffel got the grid penalty for having upgraded components.
Yeah.
But they were put on after qualifying, weren't they?
Yeah, but that was just it was more to top up the power unit parts, wasn't it? Because he's used 5 of each or something. So,
but I sort of went back on that theory because it doesn't make sense to test parts during qualifying. So
No, I think
maybe they were just late being delivered.
I think the top and bottom of it is McLaren are that far down. If they get a new part, they're probably going to bolt it to Alonso's car because they're going to want to give him all the performance they can possibly give him. Yeah. And even if they bolt a car to his part.
Whoa! Careful now.
Yeah,
that's one way to keep him in the team.
I know he's off to the Indy 500, but come on, that's a bit extreme.
But even if they bolt a part to his car and it doesn't work, at least it shows they're doing stuff, and at least it shows him that he is the favourite son.
I find it kind of weird how slow he was at some parts of that race compared to how fast he was at other parts.
I think it's fuel saving.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, because the engine is still the heaviest on fuel consumption on the grid.
Yeah. And well, don't forget as well, not only is it the heaviest on the grid, but given the fact that it's the slowest in a straight line as well, means he's on throttle longer than the other teams. So he's using more fuel because he's slower.
It's using more fuel more.
Yeah, to be slow.
And would he have lost some of his long run practice tests? So maybe they didn't actually know how much fuel it was going to use.
Possibly, because he ended up going out on the hard tyres on Saturday morning after everybody had used their one set on Friday morning. So it could have been, but everyone seemed to be up in arms about the hard tyres. Because
they were 7 seconds a lap slower, was it?
It was ridiculously slow. Yeah, they weren't coming to temperature. There were complaints of no grip. Everyone was driving around like Jolie and Palmer.
Didn't all teams have to mandatory do at least one lap on the hard tyre?
Yeah,
and that's all most teams did. Most teams did 3 laps and out flying. And out of flying and then an in. But it wasn't really a flying lap. It was more installation.
It was more like an aborted takeoff lap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, by sort of 15 minutes into to FP1 on Friday, teams were switching to the mediums already.
Yeah.
And no one seemed to like the hard tyres at all.
Do you think they should have had softer sets there?
Yeah, because they're using the same tyre compounds, well, same colours for the tyre compounds that they did last year, but all the tyres are now one grade harder than they were before. So this year's Ultra Softs are actually only as soft as last year's Supers.
Which is why they're lasting so much longer and we're seeing them at more races this year.
So the hard tyres are harder than last year's hard tyres. They're like, if it had been last season, they'd have been ultra hard.
Yeah.
Which might not be...
Kitten hard?
No.
Anti-kitten.
Yes.
Rottweiler hard.
Granite tyres.
Yeah. So that's where the teams were complaining about them. So hey, look, Pirelli have got something wrong again that they've been asked to do. Make the tyres more durable.
Exactly.
Oh, but softer.
Yeah, more durable but softer. That's never going to be a thing.
No.
Yeah.
The hard tyre, I can't think of many more races where they're going to use it from now on. Surely the 3 main compounds for the rest of the season are going to be supers, softs, and mediums, and occasionally they'll switch that to the ultras.
Is Suzuka in a hard? Suzuka
Usually is
high tide deck,
Suzuka's usually uses the hard tyre.
Yeah.
But I wonder, because they've gone that compound harder again, I wonder if we'll see them just use the mediums and the softs, which would be last year's mediums and hards.
Yeah.
Very confusing, but again, it's what Pirelli were asked to do, and they get vilified for it yet again.
I still think in this world where people are trying to streamline Formula One to make it easier to watch and make it more easier to understand, there is no reason why we should differentiate between the softs, ultra softs, mediums, and hards. There's no reason. They call them prime and option. Going into a race weekend, it should be referred to as hard and soft tyre. So if we're using the hard tyre, the medium instantly becomes the soft tyre.
Yeah.
That's all a viewer needs to know.
Do you remember in up until I think it was 2010? It was the option tyre had a green stripe on it, and was it the option tyre had a green stripe on it,
and the prime didn't.
Inter's green, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, but way back like sort of 2010 and before, I think the option had like a little green ring, and the prime did. But you didn't know what compounds they were, whether they brought the super softs and the softs, or whether they were the hards and the mediums.
Yeah, I've got to destroy my own thing here because we have 3 compounds now, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
So technically, teams could run
soft, super
softs, and hards and mediums or whatever in the same race.
Yeah,
and you could actually see all 3 tyres on track at the same time. So you'd probably need to know who's on what.
Yeah. I was thinking of it just being the 2 tyre compounds.
You've just broken Formula Lee.
No, I fixed it again.
It's not entirely broken because you don't need to know whether the softest one is ultra soft or whether the softest one is just soft.
No, it's just soft, super softs and hards. It would be, wouldn't it? Or
soft, medium, hard.
Soft, medium, hard, even. Yeah.
It just gets confused. I can see. It gets confusing
when you're explaining that the softest tyre at Monaco is different to the softest tyre in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because last year they did like nearly half the race on ultras in Monaco, whereas
it was wet and then ultras.
Yeah, whereas this year it's going to be a harder compound. They're going to do nearly the whole race on a set of kitten softs.
Speak about Monaco. I'm going to put my bold prediction in here before I forget for Monaco, there because you just reminded me. Danny Rick pulling the win for Monaco.
Ooh.
Oh,
you think Red Bulls will have the pace?
Well, they were closer to Mercedes this year than they were last year, and he should have won last year.
I like your thinking.
Was he more than 70 seconds adrift?
Yeah.
In Spain last year?
Yeah.
Well,
they won in Spain last year.
But
I mean that car seems to have closed in on Mercedes more this year.
Yeah, the Red Bulls were about 66 laps ahead of Mercedes at Spain last year.
Yeah. but just in general, that car seems to be closer towards the front.
What's fuel use like at Monaco? It's fairly low, isn't it?
Very low. So, yeah.
So if you've got a car that is quite thirsty, Monaco's where it won't hurt it as much.
Mm-hmm. Jensen.
And you're putting your money on Danny Rick?
No, I think he's got the car to do that with, but we'll see.
His head says one thing and his heart says another.
It could be. My fucking wallet will be on Jensen. I've got to put a bet on him.
Yeah, my head says that something This is a prime opportunity for Jensen to at least score a point.
Yeah, I often think sometimes
it's going to be this year's Stoffel.
It
comes in for one race, gets the first point of the season.
Sport has a funny way of almost looking like it's scripted at times. Do you know what I mean?
No. That's wrestling.
No, but there's if you look like for instance a sporting events more often than not will go down to the wire. Statistically, they probably shouldn't always go down to the wire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the sport has a tendency to make drama, and I just think that this with Fernando going, that's why I think Fernando will win in Indianapolis, is because sport has a tendency
to do what a scriptwriter would,
to create itself.
I can follow you on that one because I'm a football fan. I support York City. York City have just been relegated to the 6th tier of English football.
Yeah.
They dropped back into the relegation zone on the last day of the season with 1 minute of the season left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole build-up to the game was, can York do it? Can York survive? 1 minute left. And a result went against them in another match.
They're going to be setting up a theme park next to Nick Heidfeld soon, aren't they?
I've supported that team through thin and thinner. Shall we get back onto the Spanish Grand Prix?
Yes. Let's do that.
Wow, there was a lot to talk about, and wow, there was a lot went on.
Let's go through the teams.
From the back,
and I'm not used to saying this from the back, Williams.
Terrible race.
Just absolutely appalling.
I'm going to put this down here right now. That car is better than the Force India's, and it's being fucking wasted by both their drivers.
Definitely being wasted by Lance Stroll, who spent most of his...
And Massa. Massa's wasting it.
Yeah, but Massa's been all right so far this season.
Yeah, we've been complimenting Massa.
But that's unless he should be third. If that car... Because I think that car should be further up and closer to the Red Bulls.
Do you remember that he had a puncture and had to have his nose changed, didn't he?
On the first lap.
On the first lap.
Oh, yeah.
So he was way down because of a long pit stop.
But he hasn't been...
Yeah, by the end of the first lap, it was... I think it was a minute and 6 seconds.
Quite a few times.
I tell you what, if Jensen would have took that drive instead, he would be further up than where Massa is.
Well, I'm pretty sure Massa's had a couple of 6th place finishes, and when you've got 2 Ferraris and 2 Mercedes occupying the top 4...
And the 2 Red Bulls...
No, but that's the thing.
That's not a bad return.
I think that Mercedes should be closer to the Red Bulls, and it shouldn't be
the Williams.
Yeah. Sorry, I think it should be closer to the Red Bulls, and it should be firmly ahead of Force India.
Force India, and we're not talking about Force India, we're talking about Williams, but they brought an upgrade to this race which shifted all of their extra weight, and that we can actually see that car for what it is now. And all right, it's ugly, and we've taken the piss out of it a little bit, but it looks like it's quite a good race.
It's not a bad car. It
looks like it might be. Well, the Force India looks like it might be the 3rd best car on the grid at the moment.
I don't think it's better than Red Bull
at the moment.
It's not better than Red Bull.
They weren't that far behind Daniel Ricciardo.
No, but they were still behind.
Yeah, they were behind.
They were significantly behind.
Yeah.
They weren't worrying the Red Bulls.
He was 2 days. He was 2 days behind and 2 days ahead.
No, I don't think the gap was quite that big. But he was. The Force Indians weren't as far behind Danny Rick as Danny Rick was behind Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel.
He was over 20 seconds ahead of Perez.
And Danny Rick was a good minute and a bit behind
Vettel. Oh yeah, 1 minute 15.
Yeah.
But basically, want to forget for the Williams, I mean, Massa got caught up in the start incident.
Massa was trying to avoid, was it Raikkonen coming back onto the circuit after Verstappen and Raikkonen had their incident?
Yeah.
With Bottas sort of starting the whole train of incidents. And then when Raikkonen came back onto the circuit, I'm pretty sure Massa tried to avoid Raikkonen and ended up tapping Alonso onto the gravel. And that sort of caused Massa to have a puncture and which when his car was unbalanced, front of his car was scraping along the ground, which damaged his nose. That he had to come in for a nose change. Williams weren't ready for him to have a nose change. Didn't realise he needed one until he got into the pit box, which is why he was stuck in the pits for ages. He did fight back a bit towards the end, but then he had a really late pit stop, which put him right back towards the back again. But he did pass his teammate.
He made up a few places towards the end. I mean, he managed to get it back in 13th. But Lance Stroll, 16th.
Just terrible. Just really, really slow all weekend though. Not just in the race. Slow all weekend and complaining about the tyres.
He does need to get it together.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note as well that Stroll's fastest lap of the race was a good 3 seconds off Lewis's fastest lap.
Yeah. That's not acceptable. That's manor pace.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Stroll was tangling with Ericsson and Palmer. It's just like, this could be the most expensive shunt in history.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that Stroll and Palmer are hanging around together a lot. I think it probably says more about Jopo than Stroll, because we already know. We've already made our minds up, I think, about Stroll.
I think we made our minds up about Stroll in pre-season testing when it turned out that he was a little bit crashy.
I think he's using too much of this as like a learning curve. I think he's a little bit too secure in the fact that he's like, well, I'm paying for this seat, so I can do what I want with it.
Maybe
he shouldn't be in Formula One yet. He should have.
No.
Should have had a couple of years more. Getting used to.
If
Formula.
I am paying for this seat, then why shouldn't I treat this first year as learn about the car, learn about the tyre compounds and things like that? Just well, you haven't really got time to. Max Verstappen didn't take that long to learn how to get the grips with Formula One, and he didn't even win the Formula 3 championship. So get it together.
Yeah, cause I think Stroll has had more single-seater races than Max did before his F1 debut.
Yeah, but people adjust in different ways. People adjust and adapt in different ways. I mean, something that Max Verstappen has adapted to brilliantly is the fly-by-wire braking. All pundits, everybody who watches Max Verstappen under braking when he goes overtaking, it's like he's got this weird feel, like natural feel for the brake pedal, which other drivers just don't have, and he's adapted and adjusted to that very quickly, and I don't think Lance Stroll has adapted to Formula One at all yet. He's driving a car. He knows the fundamentals of driving a single-seater Formula single-seater Formula car, but he's not up to speed, literally, with Formula One yet.
I remember seeing an interview with Damon Hill, I think it was, when he was talking about racing drivers and what he could, and like Formula One cars in general. And he was saying it would be no hassle for anyone that's raced to jump into a Formula One car and be 3 seconds off Formula One pace. He said then you get a really good driver would get in and be 2 seconds off Formula One pace.
Yeah.
But it's getting that to within a second and then within 100th of a second, and that's where that's when you belong in Formula One.
Yeah.
And I don't think Stroll, like you say, but I don't think he belongs there. Maybe he should have done in the future, but right now
he's coming too early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that he has got some racing talent, because you don't win a single-seater series.
Was it European Formula 3 one?
Yeah, he won the championship.
So there's been some great drivers come through European Formula 3.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen being one of them. Was he Formula 3?
Yeah, European Formula 3, but he didn't even win the title. I think he finished 4th that year.
Yeah, but it's not. He's obviously a racing driver. It's not Pedro Diniz, for instance, that he wasn't a very good racing driver, but he could afford to buy a seat.
Yeah.
But we're a quarter of the way through the season. Lance Stroll needs to start.
He does, but
doing good things.
His problem is he's too casual with it as well. He's like, well, I'm still learning. It's like, well, you're 5 races in. Yeah. That's like Valtteri Bottas having an awful season.
If that was
going, I'm still learning.
If that was Max Verstappen, we'd be giving tally ho, we'll be better next time.
Exactly, yeah.
But
Max Chilton got away with it for 2 seasons.
Tally ho.
Yeah. Never mind, chaps, next time.
Pip.
Get money talks and his dad's checkbook shouts. We'll move on to McLaren next. Not talking about them at the back. Alonso finishing 12th and Stoffel
not finishing. That was his fault, really. With that silly sort of turn-in move.
Very, very silly, and he's being penalised for it in Monaco, and you don't want a penalty in Monaco.
You don't want a grid penalty in Monaco. You've already had 2 races with grid penalties, with having to change power unit parts over. So you've got a grid penalty for Monaco, and Jenson Button's coming back into the other McLaren. You're not doing yourself any favours, Stoffel. Now, Lee's got a thing about Stoffel being protected.
I don't think it's not like as in like someone's purposely protecting him, but I think how badly he's doing is being overshadowed by how badly Honda's doing.
Yeah,
and it's if that car was all of a sudden in the top 10 and he was still going out in Q2, then we'd be talking a lot more about it. But that
Palmer,
well, exactly, like totally but that gap between Alonso and Van Dorn in qualifying this week was fucking massive, and the biggest gap I've seen between teammates for a long time.
Yeah.
Although, of course, Alonso is Spanish.
Oh yeah.
So he's going to know the Barcelona circuit.
He also said the fans gave him a couple of extra tenths.
Yeah,
which is true.
I'd also like to point out,
it's an old cliche, but cliches have got to come from somewhere.
But let's not forget as well, it's not like this is one of the circuits that Van Dorn's never driven on, because the GP2 is races in Spain, so he knows the fucking circuit.
Yeah.
He's raced on it before.
The thing is, I agree with what our friend Sean Kelly, Virtual Statman, said on Twitter. With some drivers find it harder to adjust. And Stoffel Van Dorn is a serious talent, but he's never had to adapt to driving a bad car.
Yeah,
this is the first time he's ever had to adapt that we know of in his powerful career, like where you've got cars that have got enough power to cause problems.
Yeah.
Whereas Alonso has had his more than fair share of dogs.
Yeah, he's had somebody else's share as well. In fact, between him and Button, I think they've had everybody's share.
Yeah. So Alonso, for example, adapted one of his old Renaults that was incredibly heavy at the rear end, and managed to drive that to better results than it should have got.
No, he adapted. He adapted what's his name into a wall.
He adapted Nelson Piquet into a wall. But
he also adapted him from being a Formula One driver to not being a Formula One driver.
But I don't know if that was that year or if it was the year. It might have even been the last year he won the title with Renault in 2006. The car, generally speaking, wasn't good enough to win the title or at least win races. But Alonso went out and won races. Yeah. Can't remember what year it was that Virtual Statman said. But that's where it comes to. Stoffel, much like in the same vein as Lance Stroll, but in a lot smaller capacity. He's not adjusting properly.
See, you said this to me on Saturday.
Yes.
And I'm going to say the same thing again. So it's a bit boring because you've
already
heard it.
I've heard it, but the podcast listeners won't have done.
But you say he's got a bad car, but by all accounts, he's not got a bad car. He's got a really good car with a bad engine. And did you see the comparison of where Alonso got that lap between him and Lewis?
Yes.
Did you see the corner?
The turn 5?
I can't remember which turn it was.
With a little
mark
point
on the road. Yeah. There was a little.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So for any of our listeners that didn't see it, there was a little mark on the road in the middle of the road. And it showed when Lewis was there, he drove over that line, over that mark,
over the pretty much center of the car, over that mark.
And it was like, it was probably more his like inside wheel was close to the mark. Alonso had his whole car that close to the apex that he fitted his whole car within the inside the corner of that mark. So he literally got his car through that corner, a whole car width closer to the apex.
Which would say
that's a good grippy car.
That would agree with everything that Fernando has been saying this season so far, which is I am the fastest through the corners. Whenever I'm racing someone through corners, I'm a lot faster than them. They can't keep up with me, or if I'm chasing somebody, I can catch them through corners. But we get onto the straights and I lose them.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that Alonso does well is you get drivers that let the car do the work through the corners, which is why, coming back to it, Sky coverage was showing a lot of highlights of Lewis taking corners, and his line was a lot wider than everyone else's, and that's Lewis letting the car do the work.
Yeah.
Alonso puts as much work into the corner as the car does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a lot braver than everyone else.
Yeah.
Because he will see lines that other drivers will just look at and go, no, forget it.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing as well, given the fact that the engine's slow, he's probably trying to make speed up, in places that you wouldn't normally have to do it.
Quite beneficial though for Honda was when Fernando was asked, I think it was by a Spanish-speaking television station after qualifying, how far were you off pole position? He said maybe about 50 horsepower, which is not the 150 horsepower they were down 2 years ago or the 80 horsepower they were down last year. So they are making gains. They're on the way there. And it looks like that vibration problem, which Honda promised to solve by Spain, might have been solved.
Mm-hmm. I don't forget, though, that engine is still putting out less horsepower this year than it did last year.
At the moment.
At the moment.
Although
it's not putting out less than it was last year, because Alonso's lap to finish to qualify 7th was still 1 second faster than Rosberg's pole lap from last year.
But in a straight line, that car is still slower than last year.
That may well be, yeah.
I'd like to know what the upgraded components that went into the engine for him this weekend were. Because obviously the one that he was using Friday was an old engine that had done, I think, Australia, China and Bahrain.
And it went back.
And then went bang on Friday morning.
Yeah.
So Alonso went to play tennis.
So he went off, played tennis, obviously focused himself, because he didn't seem to do too badly for the rest of Friday and Saturday. But the car seemed to perform certainly better than I was expecting, once they'd put the new engine in there. And I think there were some upgraded parts on that engine.
Yeah, I like we were saying before, I think the big story here is his fastest lap of the race. When you look at it, because I'm looking on the screen here, when you compare it from from who he was racing, who was around.
Yeah.
So if you look back here from 10th, so Romain Grosjean, 126.8, Ericsson 126.2. Felipe Massa behind him, 126.4. Alonso was 123.8.
Fastest lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the fourth fastest driver towards the end of the race.
It just shows that at some point during that race, either he's decided to do it or the garage has said to him, fucking turn all the go buttons up and have a go.
But then he's been doing that for the last couple of years, hasn't he? He's had fastest laps in races.
I don't know if it was a McLaren strategy call to sort of call him in and see if he could follow Hamilton and Vettel around, but he was for the last 6 or 7 laps.
Did he have a late pit stop?
Yeah, he had a late pit stop about 7 laps before the end. Yeah. And when he came out just ahead of Hamilton and Vettel, let them both go, and then followed Vettel and was within 2 seconds of Vettel for a good 6 or 7 laps.
See, the only thing to remember here, and what for all the good news, I think what the really bad news was when we saw a Sauber with last year's Ferrari engine fucking piss past him still on the straight.
Yeah, but we'll come to the Saubers in a second. But they were fast this weekend.
But no, they were fast. But that in a straight line, considering that last year's Ferrari engine, it's not a good sign, is it?
No,
not really. We've got Haas next on the list.
Mixed bag.
Yeah.
What is Haas?
What is what?
What is Haas? Is in the car.
That's very profound.
Is it right? Is it?
It is quite a profound question that's more of a philosophical question.
Yeah, but is it a good car that's being driven sort of mediocrely to bad, or is it a bad car that 2 drivers are having to do their best with?
I suspect that it's a car that is good at some circuits and bad at others.
Yeah.
And there are obviously big problems with it, the brakes.
Mm. It's Schrodinger's car. You open the box and you never know whether you're going to get a good one or a bad one.
And then you've got 2 drivers who...
You never know if you're going to get a good one or a bad one.
They're not consistent.
Yeah. I think Haas's main problem this season is balance.
Sorry, just quickly. I think Palmer's car might be Schrodinger's car, because whenever he closes the garage, he doesn't know whether it's going to be his when he opens the door.
No, that makes Palmer the Renault car's Schrodinger driver.
Sorry, carry on.
So I think that the problem that the Haas team have got at the moment with their car is balance, because they can't seem to find it going fast. If it's fast, it goes off the circuit.
Yeah. Sorry, I have just seen a comment. What is Haas Magnussen? Don't hurt me no more.
That's good, very good. Who came in with that?
Bimagoon
Very nice.
On the YouTube comments. I know we said we'd do less of them, but that deserved repeating.
Stand up wherever you are and take a bow.
That's amazing.
But yeah, the brakes are an issue. Inconsistent drivers.
Yeah.
Is Grosjean giving constant feedback about the state of the car, or is he just a whiny little bitch?
Creative editing on the part of Formula One management, and I think he also is whining a little bit.
Yeah, because he's not giving feedback; he's moaning.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
his feedback, sort of.
Yeah. We didn't think that Fernando Alonso's feedback at the beginning of the Russian Grand Prix, for example, was particularly constructive feedback, did we? Sort of, I've tried it 3 times. You try.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, mate. We didn't call that feedback, so why would we call what Grosjean's doing feedback?
Well,
he's moaning because he's a driver. He wants to drive fast. When he drives that car fast, it goes off the circuit. It's unstable. So he has to dial it back until it's stable, and then they're not competitive.
To be fair, we've always said Romain Grosjean is either fast or crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not new. It's not new to Haas that Romain Grosjean is either slow or fucking Larry.
No.
And he's also spent a long time in the Lotus, which was a pretty good car.
Yeah.
It was a really solid car.
Race winner.
It was a race winner.
Yeah.
With Kimi behind the wheel, that car won races.
It was an outsider for the championship, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wonder if that spoiled him a bit. And he's just not used to a car that's not a really solid base.
Obviously we don't know this because none of us know the people. But I guess he might take himself a little bit too seriously. I think maybe he thinks he's better than he is.
He thinks he's on for a Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is what's making me think this.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that he might be a fucking multiple world champion in the making, but maybe the making is him taking a step back from it and addressing himself more.
Didn't Grosjean in his first season in F1, he was only a part-time driver because he was still working for a Swiss bank?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure I remember hearing that.
Would that be ING who was sponsoring Renault at the time?
I
don't know if they're Swiss, to be honest.
I don't know if they're Swiss, but no. I just seem to remember, and I might have to look this up while we're talking, that he was actually still working for a bank when he was doing his first seasons in Formula 1.
I hate
was
that.
Was that 08 or 09 when PK Gate happened and PK was binned off for the rest of the season?
I think that was 09.
And Grosjean came in.
Yeah, it was 09 because Grosjean came in and fucking went straight through Hamilton and Button, didn't he, at Spa? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I thought he'd been there for a while by then.
Oh no, I don't know if it was his first race. I think it was like his second or third race.
No, because Crashgate was at Singapore, which is after Spa in the calendar.
So
Grosjean came in for like the last 4 races of the season, I think it was.
Oh, did he come in for P? Oh, sorry, I see what you mean. Sorry, yeah. So it was 2008 then, because it was that's what I mean. 2009, he raced in. He was in Renault because I remember him going into but it was his season in 2009 which led to Renault sacking him again.
And he had a season off before coming back. Have you found out, Paul? Which
I can't find it.
It was funny that he won the GP2 championship, didn't he, in 2010?
Yeah.
And I thought because he'd been like a Formula 1 driver and they put him back into GP2, it's a little bit like sending a third division player to school football and then being surprised when he scores a load of goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, inconsistencies with him and the car, and with K-Mag as well.
K-Mag didn't look too bad this weekend.
No. It's been one of his better performances. Yeah. Just let down at the end.
Yeah.
With that puncture.
Yeah. Well, I said he'd be. Did I say he'd be the fucking villain of the piece? Yeah, I was wrong.
I think your villain for this race was pick a Scandinavian.
Well, yeah. I suppose, yeah, the tyre came across all Scandinavian, didn't it?
But no, K-Mag has been all right in Spain. Grosjean, again, could have performed better, but did he have the car underneath him? Doesn't look like it.
No. But, I mean, it's good to see Haas getting in the points again, at least.
Did they score points? Did Grosjean get points?
Grosjean got 10th.
Oh, well, there you go. 10th place.
Courtesy of K-Mag's puncture. Otherwise...
K-Mag would have got points.
Otherwise, K-Mag would have got points, but he lost... I think he was running 8th or 9th when he punctured. So...
Yeah, because he was hoping to capitalise on the Sauber penalty.
Yeah.
He didn't.
I just find it worrying that we've actually got 3 teams in and we haven't got as far as Sauber yet.
No, we have not.
And we've still got more teams to go before we get to Sauber.
We'll probably just glance over Sauber and not notice them there.
Yeah, fair point. We've got Renault next.
Jopo, come on.
Yeah, talk about split strategy. They're putting a driver in one car and a face palmer in the other.
No, do you know what? Like polar opposites, like on
one's a driver, one isn't.
Exactly. Yeah. on a Williams scale, but more so. Like Hülkenberg is coming to now with that car. He knows the team now. He knows how they operate. He's been there for 5 races as well as all the pre-season testing. He understands it all and he's getting on with it and he's doing a great job. He's back to Hulk as we knew him inside the top 10, not really doing an awful lot, but scoring points.
He just needs that one race where he's running 5th at some point and Hulk is back.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't seen it yet, but
to be fair, this season it's probably going to be between pit stops.
Yeah.
But he's up in the points. He's just running. He's doing his Carlos Sainzing, should we say? He's not really being dramatic. No, he's being fast. He's there, and he's just getting on with it.
I tell you what, he's also proven.
Meanwhile, is just like, well, the pace fell out of the car today. Pace doesn't fall out of a car, Jolyon.
No,
seriously.
I tweeted from the 3 Legs 4 Wheels account, and I think a lot of people agreed with me. On Saturday, bold prediction isn't going to be the top 3. It's what excuse is Palmer going to use when he goes out in Q1.
Yeah.
And again, blame the car. It was the car's fault.
But isn't it great? He was 7th, wasn't he, in the morning? You know, in practice.
P3.
Yeah.
He was quite high up.
Did have a fast practice.
And he couldn't get anywhere near his practice time in qualifying. So you're just like, what? Is it that much on top of him? Like, is there that much pressure now that when it actually comes to performing, he's just tightens up and it's all fucked?
It could be, because obviously the fans are talking like he's already been sacked.
Yeah.
There's the Alonso rumours, and out of Jopo and Hulk, which do you think could go?
Exactly.
Gee, let me think.
Yeah. But I was patient with Jopo. He performed really well towards the back end of last season. I was kind of glad to see that he got that seat for a second year.
Yeah.
He's throwing that. He's now showing us why he shouldn't have been the 5th choice for that seat.
Well, he had the chance. He had a chance here to prove that he should be there, and he's not doing it.
Yeah, and he just he keeps blaming things that aren't his fault. He never just says, "Well, I got that wrong," which would be what I'd have more respect for him if he came forward and said, I don't know what happened. I just didn't hook it up properly. It's probably my fault.
I know what you mean.
Well, he has had races where the car's been the problem.
Yeah, he's had bad luck.
He's had a lot of bad luck. But
then when he has a nightmare qualifying performance, I mean, you look at Russia. Do I mean Russia? But you look at, I think it was Russia, where went out in Q1, crashed because he was trying too hard to get the time to get into Q2. He shouldn't have had to have been trying. He should have...
The car's good enough. Hulkenberg's proven it.
Yeah.
The car should be Q1 now.
Hulkenberg got the car into Q3.
Yeah, sorry, Q3.
He was struggling to actually get it out of the bottom 5.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. He shouldn't have put himself under that much pressure because he should have actually gone faster in the first place.
Yeah.
Because the car has got the speed to do it. And we were harsh on him last season with rookie mistakes at tracks where he wasn't a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to pull it together towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
But this year, from what we've seen of him so far, he is worse than he was in the first half of last season.
Yeah.
He's actually completely regressed.
Yeah, maybe. So.
And I'd be amazed if he was in a Renault next year. I'd be amazed if he was in anywhere but Sauber next year.
Do you think it's not doing him any favours as well, considering he's got such a strong teammate as well? It's whenever they look at the data and he's looking at the sector times and stuff, and it's just
Whereas last year it was K-Mag.
K-Mag, and they were, even when K-Mag was faster than him, he was comparably faster. Whereas he must be looking at Hulk's times, thinking that's like he's in a different car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he is competitive and he is one of the best 20 drivers in the world, by dint of the fact that he's in a Formula One car, he should be looking at Hulk's times, going, right, okay, how do I get those?
Yeah,
I said a couple of races ago, I think Renault could well win the development race for this year, as in like the most developed team throughout the season. They could be knocking around sort of Red Bull sort of territory by the end of the year.
I think that might be a big ask, but I certainly think
it's possible.
I think they'll be giving Williams and Force India more hassle than they're giving them right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think they will be. But you've got
they're going to be giving Williams the hassle because Williams is sort of half letting themselves down.
Yeah.
But so are Renault.
Yeah, but the Renault are going to have the drivers there. That's going to be my next point. If the car is going to develop to a point where it's going to be competitive, going to be scoring points consistently, or at least able to score points consistently, and you're going to need both drivers to be there doing that. You can't have one driver get into Q3, qualifying 7th or 8th, and then staying out of trouble first lap. Does his first stint quite quickly, second stint perfect, and by the time the third stint comes around, you're looking and think, hang on a second, how's Hulkenberg running in 6th? And then you've got Jolyon Palmer, who goes out in Q1, sits in 6th.
Actually, if you're talking about them competing against Williams, yes, they can afford to have one good
Absolutely.
driver and one bad one.
Yeah.
And then you got you can't afford to have Jolyon Palmer pissing about at 16th place at the back, going, it wasn't there for me today. Well, it was there for Hulkenberg today, and it's been with it. It's not just today, Jolyon.
No.
It's been all season.
I would just point out that's what he says to the media. What he says to the team behind closed doors might be very different.
Yeah, of course it is. He can't be seen.
What Palmer says. Sorry, guys. Here's another check.
Yeah, but he can't be seen when he goes in the media to speak to the media. Going, it's my fault.
I'm a bit rubbish.
No driver would do that.
Right. Okay. I've got a scenario here. Sergei Sorokin has attempted to do FP1 for Renault in the last 2 races. First one in Russia, he got an outlap. Spain, he got 10 laps before the car failed on him.
Yeah.
Same water leak at both. Are we going to see Sorokin again in? I don't think it'll happen in Monaco, because Monaco is an anomaly.
Yeah, and it's Thursday practice as
well.
And
it's a Thursday practice, but Sorokin will be there because there is an F2 race.
Yeah.
But are we going to see Sorokin in FP1 in Canada? And if he has a good session and puts in representative times and is close to Hulk's pace, are we going to see Sorokin in the car on a Sunday before this season's out instead of Palmer?
It depends on what the rumours are with Alonso. Yeah. If they're going to sign Alonso, they would not derail a young driver's career by bringing him into the team just to sack him.
Yeah, unless Hulkenberg gets picked up by Mercedes, Ferrari, for example. If Raikkonen were to go, or Mercedes don't retain Bottas, or
which
Hamilton,
I don't think will happen because he signed a 2-year deal with Renault.
Yeah, but it could be. It would be foolish at this moment in time, if Raikkonen were to go and Ferrari went Nico Hulkenberg.
I'd argue.
Like, I'm all right with Renault, thanks.
Yeah, no, but it might not be up to him if he signed a contract.
Yeah,
well,
I know. Yeah.
So
the contract might have clauses saying if one of the top teams.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is, though, with Sorokin, they could hold him under contract. They could loan him out to someone else. You could find
Sauber.
Yeah, you could find him driving a Sauber. Whoever's engine's in the back of it doesn't seem to matter to Sauber.
Is he just through Renault, or is he part of the young Red Bull as well?
Sorokin, no, he's just Renault.
Just Renault.
He was part of another young drivers program, another team's young driver program. Who was it? Because Sorokin was nearly got a seat a few years ago.
All I know is he sounds like a knight.
Sergei Sorokin.
or just Sir Rotkin.
I am Sir Otkin.
Pleased to meet your acquaintance, milady.
Let's have a look.
I'm sure Sorokin nearly got a seat somewhere a couple of years ago. I think it was Sauber, you know. I think he was testing for Sauber.
Could have been Manor. Could have been Manor as well. Because they went through a few drivers, didn't they? They went through the Irish guy as well. He had the tests.
Ralph Furman?
No,
somebody that was actually a driver. Just have a look at Sergei Sorokin's details.
Is that Wikipedia, Paul?
Yes. It looks like he is just on the Renault program.
right.
I'm sure he's tested for Sauber though. I'm gonna Google
He
this.
tested for Sauber in 2013
Yes, I knew it.
at the Young Drivers Test, and the aim was to get him practicing on Fridays.
I'd also point out, considering that there was no replacing him last year, and we were saying he clearly knows his way around a contract, there's nothing saying that he hasn't got an equally as good "you will drive these races this year" contract this year. But I don't think they'll get rid of him. I think there's, especially if they're trying to get Alonso, I think there will be more energy put in to sealing a deal with Alonso for 2018 than worrying about Jolyon Palmer this year.
I think so.
Do we think Alonso's going to go to Renault?
Too early to tell yet.
I don't think... I've got as far as we will not see him driving a McLaren in Formula One next season.
I don't know. I think it's all going to depend on what. Mind you, McLaren actually said the other day, didn't it, that they would they have to perform nothing short of a miracle to keep Fernando.
Yeah, well, Alonso also said if it doesn't look by September or October that they're capable of building a race-winning car, then I'm free to talk to anyone.
Yeah,
which I think is a contract clause. Anyway, next team.
Next team up, we have Toro Rosso. Danny Kvyat in 9th, which to say that he started 20th isn't all that bad.
No, exactly.
That should be a contender for driver of the day.
Yeah.
But he was kind of anonymous.
Under the radar.
He did that completely under the radar. And Carlos Sainz getting on with it in 7th.
Yep, Carlos Sainz being Carlos Sainz, and actually, well, we say getting on with it, but most of his race weirdly stuck behind Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah.
And that was just wrong.
And just could not get past him. So we
didn't even really try very hard, did he?
He had a couple of lunges down into turn 1, and then I think we heard a team radio message say, look, you're going to have to watch your tyres, hold back a little bit, maybe go at him again at the end. And then he didn't get close enough.
Well, there was no point in getting close enough because he had the 5-second penalty.
Well, yeah, so they knew they were going to take the position, but, you know, they could have made things better for themselves with... I'm talking about Sauber now. Could have made things better for themselves with the car outside of the points. But, yeah, both Toro Rossos in the points on a circuit where chassis counts quite a bit. Remembering that Bottas and Raikkonen didn't finish... you would only have one car probably in the points.
That still makes the Toro Rosso one of the...
Bottas, Raikkonen and Verstappen.
And Verstappen, yes, thank you.
Still would have put Sainz in 10th.
Yeah. Wouldn't have.
You know, he would have got points from that position, so not all that dire. We are now seeing what the car can do. Obviously, the chassis is pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good. It appears to be performing pretty well. That's an interesting noise.
Yeah, my e-liquid makes very strange squeaking noises when I'm putting it in.
What's E about the liquid?
You use it in an electronic cigarette.
But that doesn't make the liquid E, does it?
No.
But if you just said, my liquid makes a weird noise, then...
And I am not going to use the hipster term and call it juice.
I think
liquid
do you know what? I think e-liquid is more hipster than juice.
No, all the hipsters call it juice now.
I don't know any hipsters, Paul. It's obviously you hang around with your friends. That.
Well, no, because I've got to go into a shop and buy it, and it's manned by hipsters.
Right. Okay. Fluid.
Possibly
anyway,
fluid.
Continue.
Anyone got any tissues? It's leaked.
No. Toro Rosso.
Suck it. Then sort your liquid out.
Lee. Oh, I've got tissues.
I thought you were turning it a Degeneration X for a minute.
Please, can we talk about Formula One and stop talking about Paul's fluids?
I've developed a water leak. I'm going to have to go back to the garage.
All right, Sergey.
It happens at your age.
I've got the right tablets for that.
There's an app for that.
There's also knickers. Knickers that you tie at the feet.
Oh dear, incontinence pants.
And apparently somebody else calls it oil, not juice.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, cheers, Jack Sharp.
Oil.
Oil.
Fair enough.
Not
Oil leak.
Is it oil?
It's made of glycerine.
Continue with the Formula One talk, please.
Yes, okay,
Welcome,
different kind of oil.
Welcome to Vape Corner.
You're listening to 3 Legs for Vapes.
That's a fucking late night radio show if ever you've heard one, isn't
I
it?
should start a vape podcast.
3 Legs for Vapes.
Only available on Apple devices, obviously.
I've got loads of them now.
Well, you could listen then. Okay. Right, Toro Rosso. God. Yeah.
Italian for Red Bull.
Italian for Red Bull, not Monster. We'll come to that later.
We will.
I think we are starting to see, because there was talk that there's been some developments on the chassis, which kind of got overshadowed by the Red Bull developments. Because if somebody says a Red Bull-owned team has got new bits bolted onto the car, everyone's going to go to the dark blue garage rather than the metallic blue garage.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it looks like they have made improvements.
I don't think it's still a letdown from what we thought we might get from them, isn't it?
I think we might have got our expectations a little bit too high because it looks like the Mercedes, but it's...
Let's face it, we got our expectations too high for Red Bull, let alone Red Bull 2.
Yeah.
The revenge of the Red Bulls.
Mystery Science Theatre done that one yet?
Not yet.
Never seen it.
You're missing out. I've lost my thread completely now. Somebody else talk about Toro Rosso for a minute.
Well, Danny Kvyat got points, and so did Carlos Sainz.
Good drive from Danny, because he was well back, wasn't he?
Well, yeah,
He started
19th.
19th,
Yeah.
and finished 9th. So under the radar, sort of went through and somehow scraped points. I think he might have been one of the people who benefited massively from pitting under the virtual safety car.
He was also one of the people who started the race on mediums and swapped on the first lap to
he
softs.
swapped on the first lap as well.
Yeah. So essentially, he did
Got rid of all
the whole race apart from one lap on softs.
Yeah, yeah. So that benefited him massively as well. Then.
Well, it shows, doesn't it? When you get two of the top guys out, this is where you need your lower teams
your good second
to
driver.
fucking perform because that's why Sauber got fucking points. Is because two drivers dropped out.
Well, that and Ruth Busker.
Yeah.
Well, no. If Bottas, Verstappen, and Raikkonen all finished, Sauber would have still been in the points.
Yep.
No.
He was 7th, wasn't he?
7th on the road. 8th.
Eight.
Oh, right, because of the swap Sainz, so he would have finished 11th.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz actually TT phrase 8th on the road.
Yeah.
7th on corrected time.
Even so, last week, if I'd said to you, Sauber will come in 11th.
Oh yeah, no, fucking. I'm not belittling that at all because, and I actually think Pascal might be the fucking driver of the day. To be perfectly honest.
I think he was our driver of the day collectively in the blog room, was he not?
He was, yeah.
So
I'll go with that. Do we put the rings together now and summon Captain Planet?
Captain Planet.
So shall we officially move on to Sauber?
Yeah. We've pretty much started.
Marcus Ericsson, good drive, and weirdly watched him overtaking Fernando Alonso at one point.
Well,
I was just like, is that Ericsson overtaking Alonso?
The Saubers were fast as fuck this weekend.
They were.
Strange, isn't it? Remember last year when they were fucking ridiculously quick in Australia for no apparent reason?
Yeah, and then not that great for the rest of the year.
Did they have huge upgrades for this weekend, or was Barcelona just really weird?
Well, I said this was their last chance to get points because the upgrades are coming now, and they've got last year's Ferrari engine. So this is their last chance to get points on a chassis circuit where the engines don't really matter so much. They're not going to get a better chance to score points other than today. I said that on Sunday.
Yeah.
But they managed it, and what they did was on the verge of genius. If it was Ruth Buscombe who did the strategy, she split the cars strategy-wise, and Wehrlein was very fortunate to go so far into the race on softs and then switch on to the mediums under the virtual safety car.
He was fortunate, or just did his job right.
Did his job right, I think. But I mean, I think they were going to one-stop both cars anyway. Yeah. But they got to a point where Wehrlein was in the points and Ericsson was just outside the points. So if they did have to sacrifice their top driver, what that would have done would have pulled Wehrlein into the pit, would have pushed Ericsson up into the points.
Yeah. They guaranteed themselves points.
Themselves points, which is clever. Very, very clever from Sauber.
Ruth Buscombe got the best results she could out of the Ferraris when they were underperforming.
Yeah.
She got Haas points in their first couple of races.
Yeah.
She's now got points for Sauber.
She's steadily building quite the reputation for herself.
She's a genius.
She's a freaking genius.
Yeah.
And shies away from the media. We'll never get her on the podcast.
No, she's quite pretty as well.
Yeah.
The other reason why she'll never come on the podcast, Lee's scaring her.
Yeah.
Is the reason just Lee?
Yes.
Don't make that face. That's one of the most disturbing things I think I am ever likely to see.
It's okay.
But it wasn't just strategy that got them where they were.
It was good driving.
The pace was there.
It was like a rocket on the straights.
You should feel very fucking privileged with that. Usually that's the last thing people ever see.
That's why it's gone out on YouTube. But yeah, the Sauber was quick. I think the best way to describe it was grippy and nippy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had pace through the corners. I don't know whether they were running perhaps like a higher downforce than anyone else, but
well, they can't have been running that much higher downforce because they were fast on the straights as well.
Yeah, they were fast on the straights.
So they just did.
Or were they running higher downforce and were just able to take advantage of DRS because we didn't really see them without DRS.
Have they just got a McLaren situation where they've got a shit engine and a decent car?
And it's actually the car that's good. I mean,
they said their aero was good. We didn't believe them.
Yeah, the reasoning behind them, or the reason that they put out behind the engine was we believe in our aero package that much that we can achieve just as much with last year's engine as we can with this.
Well, they turned around and said that they wanted to put the extra money into aero, didn't they? Because they said we can either concentrate on the engine or aero, and we're going to concentrate on aero because of the change in regulations.
And this week anyway, they appear to have got that right.
Well, and it might work for them in Monaco as well.
It's the first chassis circuit we've been to.
Yeah.
So I mean, fair enough. I don't think it's going to pay out. I don't think it's going to work for them over the course of a season.
Well, if you think about last year, they locked into points in Brazil.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Freak weather.
Freak weather.
Yeah.
This year they scored points.
And then went back to Felipe next year, no thanks.
Yeah, they're going to be absolutely clown shoes in Monza unless it throws it down.
And Spa.
Yeah. No, taking that as red. But, no, I mean...
They're allowed to start Monza next week.
Whereas McLaren had to start Monza in December with all the penalties that were wrapped up by then. But no, they scored points on merit, and like you say, if one driver didn't get points, the other one was in a position where he could have done.
Yeah.
Only thing that went wrong was when Wehrlein decided to go into the pits too late and went the wrong side of the bollard.
Yeah, and got himself a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, otherwise we'd have been talking about them finishing 7th and Sainz finishing 8th.
Yeah.
That is a result of the old Sauber.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
pre-2013 Sauber.
Yeah.
Like you say, it'd be interesting to see what they can do in Monaco as well now. That'll show us whether this was just like proper luck and the strategy worked for them, the way they managed the tyres work for them, or whether there is actually a car component to the result.
I mean, don't forget, they are a race-winning team.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Robert Kubica won a race for them.
Yes,
they were BMW.
BMW Sauber, but it was still the same team.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Red Bull next. Sorry,
did we just jump from Sauber to Red Bull?
We just jumped from Sauber to Red Bull.
That's what happened.
Which, to be honest,
Which,
to be honest, is what Red Bull did.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah,
because it used to be the Red Bull Sauber. And then when
Red Bull Patronus Sauber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when Red Bull became a thing, Sauber were left without a sponsor.
Piloted by Johnny Herbert, I believe, at one point. I remember Johnny was in
Jean
it.
Alesi.
Yeah.
And Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yes.
Jean-Christophe Bouillon.
Yeah. They've had some good drivers in the past. And Johnny Herbert.
I always liked Johnny Herbert.
I've just got a thing against Johnny Herbert at the moment, and it's all Sky's fault. Just for that 10-minute Johnny Herbert story that's on 7 or 8 times every weekend between every bloody session.
Right, there's this thing that comes with your Skybox.
Called a remote.
Yeah. It's got loads of buttons on it.
Yeah.
And you can use that.
And do you know why it's
to
called?
Select what you want to watch.
Do you know why it's called a remote? Because it's usually in the most remote position from where I am.
Well,
that's not Sky's fault.
It's not Sky's fault at all. I mean, if Sky,
and it's definitely not Johnny Herbert's fault.
They've even made it easier for you now because the fucking voice button works. It now does something.
Yeah, you've got to press a button, which means being near the remote.
Oh dear.
My desk is usually at the other side of the living room to where my remote is. Anyway, moving back on to Red Bull.
If you don't like to change the channel, you must have some strange wanks.
Max Verstappen.
DNF.
Almost a DNS. Was it somebody put it as 0 to 100 to 0 really quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of bad luck.
Bad luck. Caught up in the opening corner.
Yeah. He was in the middle of turn 1 with a car on very close to the outside of him and a car that was too close to him on the inside. So, it was unfortunate. Well, it was Raikkonen was in the middle, wasn't he?
Raikkonen was in the middle.
Raikkonen
Max was on the outside.
Max was on the outside. I got that wrong. Sorry. Max was on the outside. He could have been lucky if he was hit in a different place and just been pushed wide, rejoined the circuit a bit further down, and carried on racing. Unfortunately, he was hit in the wrong place,
and that took the suspension out, and then gone.
Yeah.
Not really much you can say. Brought him back down to earth with a bump after winning last year.
Yeah.
Because of a incident at a corner.
Yeah.
That took two of the leading cars out.
Yeah.
Very good of him, though, to try and get back to the pits to see if they could fix it. Because most of the drivers would have been like, this is my race over. Whereas Max Verstappen had his wheel turned to the left and was still going straight.
He was racing Raikkonen.
He was still trying to get past him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that he had the wheel turned 90 degrees to go in a straight line might have been a suggestion that it's possibly a little bit finished.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Kimi did the best he could because he drove that car much further than he probably should have done, considering one of his wheels was trying to go to Italy.
Did you see the state of the tyre when it got back to the garage?
Yes.
Well, he stopped before that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when they finally got it back to the garage on the flatbed.
Yeah.
He flat spotted that one a little.
Yeah, just a lot.
Yeah.
Good God. But it wasn't even flat spotting because it was rotating, but it was almost on fire.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I saw that much canvas, I was in an art gallery.
Which, to be fair, after my fucking bets were very Kimi heavy, I might as well have done to my £15.
Yes. First corner in the bin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an unfortunate one for Max Verstappen, though. But Danny Rick managed to capitalise on a lot of other cars not making it to the finish line and did very well to finish third. Although very distant third and not quite the B-spec Red Bull we were hoping to see.
That kind of all went a little bit quiet by about Saturday. Because the whole Red Bull upgrades thing came in waves. It was they've done a massive overhaul on everything. Oh, it's not as much as everyone thinks. Oh no, it's practically a B-spec car. Oh no, there's only a few new components. Oh, it's a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be worried as worried as it looks, given how far away they were, because I think it was obvious that they're the third best team, and they're not as quick as Ferrari and Mercedes, but they could drive around probably on 3 and finish where they were.
Do you know what I think it was? I think that was a test under race conditions. Because you're right, all Danny Rick had to do was
drive round and finish.
And he was guaranteed third place.
But do you reckon maybe they saw we can't actually get anywhere near the Ferraris, the Mercedes?
Yeah.
You're guaranteed third if you finish.
Yeah.
Turn the engine right down.
Yeah. That's what I think it was. Because I think if they were racing, I think he'd have been like 30 seconds behind.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Not over a minute.
But he wasn't guaranteed third until Bottas retired, of course, on lap 39, 40, something like that.
No, but he'd already pretty much had Bottas covered through his Bottas's pace, didn't he? At some point?
No, Bottas was quite a bit further down the road. I think he just went, and then his engine went.
Because Bottas's pace was fucking horrendous.
Yeah, and he admitted that as well.
Yeah.
So he said I didn't have the pace at all.
That's it. The old. I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute. Sorry, if we when we go forward. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, not much else to say about Daniel Ricciardo.
Well,
it was fairly uneventful, wasn't it?
The alternative, if he's not turned the engine down, is we've talked about how Red Bull should have a really good chassis and aero package. If that's them on a chassis circuit, and that was their genuine fastest pace, it's not that good a car.
No.
Well, also look at it. Look, another sort of negative point to look at. I mean, I don't know why I'm looking at it from this perspective when Daniel Ricciardo gets Red Bull's first podium of the season, and I'm like, wow, look at it like this: 30 seconds behind in Australia, 40 seconds behind in China, nearly a minute behind in Bahrain. I can't remember what it was in Russia, and then over 70 seconds behind in Spain. Now that could just be purely coincidence, but are they falling further behind from Mercedes and Ferrari, or is it just coincidence that the gap has just been extended by almost 10 seconds every single race?
I think there's something to that. I think they're losing the arms race in development,
which is crazy for Red Bull.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But that Aston Martin road car is nearly finished, isn't it?
Do you think that's taken up that much of?
It's split its time half and half.
well,
According to Christian Horner.
yeah, Christian Horner basically said as much.
Wow.
He was saying that they don't have him full time. He's doing other things. That's what he wants to do, and they're just using him when they can get him.
So, I mean, if that's true, it's obvious. It's an obvious impact on the team, isn't it? You know, it's obviously negatively impacting. And at that point, do you? He can't work for another Formula One team.
No,
we know that he's got his golden handcuffs on. He can't work for another Formula One team. So, at the point where your car's here because your chief aerodynamicist isn't there, so.
Do you need a new chief aerodynamicist?
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. Red Bull have to be quite brave here, and whilst they might give like a aerodynamicist chief emeritus position, if you will, to Adrian Newey, where he's allowed to go off and do his other things, but maybe casts an eye over the whole sort of Red Bull Formula One project every couple of months or so. Is it time for Red Bull to promote James Key from the Toro Rosso team up to the Red Bull team and go, you are designing this car? So, Adrian will chip in every now and again, but it's you are the man now.
I would say yes if the Toro Rosso was closer to Red Bull, because that's that's his car and it's still not as good as a part-time Newey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what do you do? I mean, it might be there might be something in promoting Key to. Red Bull to work as a junior underneath.
How much of the difference is going to be because of the people, and how much is going to be because of things like the fluid modelling and the wind tunnels and all of the stuff where Red Bull has all the budget and the Toro Rosso have like 2.5p pieces?
I don't know. Does Toro Rosso not use the same facilities?
They have their own factory. They've still got the old Minardi factory in it.
Do they?
They're still based out.
Yeah,
of
I'd hazard a guess that they're privy to the same information. I'd imagine on their server.
Are they allowed to be?
I don't think they are. They have to be run as completely separate entities.
Right, that I'm sure that even if they're supposed to, I'm sure now and again there's a fucking memory stick gets thrown across.
I would be pretty sure that that's not the case.
Do you think so?
No memory sticks. They might swap stuff around occasionally, but
but
they're never going to say, "Hey, here's our simulation data," because that's straight up against the rules. Yeah.
They might say, "Here's our simulation data manager."
Yeah.
I'd argue that it probably goes on within teams with espionage. of people that are in Ferrari going to Mercedes going, look at that, and someone in Mercedes going, look at that, and getting money for it.
And Fernando has nothing to do with any scandal of that sort.
No.
Or any of the other scandals that happened near him.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, when you see the adverts for that, like Teflon shirts and stuff, where like water, like sauce just runs off it. That's Fernando Alonso.
Teflon man. Yeah. Fernando Teflonzo.
Nothing sticks.
All you need to do is walk towards a gate and it opens.
Should we move on to
Jedi powers?
Move on to the Pink Panthers, Force India, the third best team of the weekend that we've got written down here.
Yeah.
They are doing great.
Those last year's Manor drivers are all right, aren't they? Wehrlein and Ocon.
Yeah.
Just goes to prove how shit that Manor actually was.
Yep, you said that Sunday. We put it on the blog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ocon thought he was doing really well moving into a new team at the start of the season, gets a couple of 10th places in his first 2 races, and from that point on, he's only improved.
Yeah. He's been racing with Perez, and I think, I don't know if he was racing with Perez in Spain, but he certainly wasn't a million miles behind him by the end of the race.
No.
He was 1 place behind him.
Well, no, but I mean, in terms of, Danny Ricciardo was 1 place behind Sebastian Vettel, but a long way. Whereas, Ocon and Perez are getting on with it. They seem to be a good team. I think that's the key there, is that they seem to be a good team. They seem to work together well, seem to get on. There doesn't appear to be much drama at all.
It was the same with Hulk and Perez, and I wonder if that's Force India's big skill.
I wonder if that's a strength of
it's
theirs.
Just making sure they've got the right team that gels nicely.
Yeah, a family sort of feeling around the sort of team, and therefore everybody's willing to go above and beyond for everyone else. And
I mean, there must be a good atmosphere in that team. Everyone's happy there. Otherwise, there's no way that people would wear those pink suits voluntarily.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, they did make a point of saying that they have new pit crew overalls for this weekend with the pink on. So now the pit staff look like licorice all sorts as well.
They do, black and pink. Yeah, look like a licorice all sort sandwich.
I know what I'm having for lunch tomorrow.
But Force India do have a suspended €25,000 fine hanging over their heads now
because they were called to the stewards. Was it after the race?
After the race had finished. The names or numbers on the side of the car,
it's the numbers,
weren't visible because they'd put them on top of the side pods, not vertically.
And also on the nose cone as well. They were on top of the nose cone.
You find some space on that car.
Well, presumably the suspended fine means get it sorted for the next race.
If you don't sort it in Monaco, then it's going to cost you €25,000.
Yeah, so you will be able to see those Force India numbers.
Because of course the problem is this is all done for driver identification, so you can tell who's who between the teams.
Yeah,
and it's as Sean pointed out while we were watching the race on Sunday, it's actually harder for Force India because both drivers have got new pink helmets this year. Stop it.
Yeah.
What? What could possibly be funny about that?
It's because those water suppliers have also sponsored the drivers' suits and helmets as well as the car.
Yeah.
So they got to choose the colours.
I drank some of that water when I was in Germany.
Was it all right?
It was just water.
The driver identification was a lot more difficult for Force India than, say, Mercedes or Red Bull or Ferrari, because both of their drivers were on the track.
Well, yeah, that didn't help as well.
Yeah, and running one in front of the other.
Yeah.
So I think the new driver identification rules is you've either got to have one driver that's winny and one that's crashy, or one that's good and one that's pootling round at the back. So if you've got 2 equal drivers that are round about the same place, you'll get fined.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't have 2 number 1 drivers. You must
I'm really
have a
looking
number
forward to
2.
seeing how Esteban Ocon gets on in Monaco. Will you have raced in Monaco before as GP2, F2?
GP2 races in Monaco.
Yeah.
Because this is where we pulled Palmer apart for making that mistake on the zebra crossing.
Yeah, but this is his first. This is his first time there in Formula One, and it is a bit of a circus at Monaco. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on.
I still defend Joe Poe for that. I think that was more down to undrivability from the Renault engine than it was down to him losing it on a white line.
I suppose when you're that crashy or you're that crap, one failure must be somebody else's fault. From yours.
No,
all the rest of them.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. But I still don't think that was completely his fault.
No, Force India are just looking spectacularly
good.
Fourth, they are making fourth their own.
Yeah, they brought upgrades, which meant they had shifted almost all their weight problems that they've had in the first 4 races. Their car is now, after being about 5 to 10 kilos overweight, is now bang on weight apparently.
Which still isn't what you really want. You want your car underweight so that you can put ballast on it.
Yeah. But it's there or thereabouts. It's a lot better than it was anyway.
Yeah.
We believe the Mercedes team sorted their weight issues out as well, but we'll talk about them in a bit. But yeah, great performance from Force India, 4th and 5th, double point scoring.
Yeah,
especially when Williams are not.
Yeah, they are definitely consolidating that 4th place that they got last season, which is making more of a mockery out of Williams.
I think about 9 points behind Red Bull now or something like that.
They're getting closer. I mean...
Well, Red Bull have had quite a few one-car finishes, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of Red Bull DNFs and we could see Red Bull playing catch-up for 3rd.
Which will be weird.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I mean, that team hasn't been that close to being towards the top of the constructors' standing since it was a Jordan.
No. I might have just kicked the camera.
You did just kick the camera. Oh, it's all right. You've actually made it better. You've got Chris Moore in shot now. Ferrari next. Vettel with 2nd, which he sort of seemed happy about in the end. And Kimi, of course, we've talked about in the first corner.
Yeah, Kimi first corner out.
Yeah. Vettel 2nd, but as you put it on Sunday, Chris, Mercedes Ferrari.
They did Ferrari. They scared Ferrari into making a pit stop when it was far too early to make a pit stop. And
Vettel could have won that race, couldn't he?
Yeah, Ferrari did their old trick, did a last season's strategy trick of just getting it wrong.
This was Australia 2016 all over again.
Yeah, they called Vettel in thinking that you get the undercut, and then Mercedes played let's leave Hamilton out as long as we possibly can.
And also, let's leave Bottas in front of Vettel.
To be fair, they tried to fuck Vettel before the fucking end of qualifying Q1.
Then when it was just after they pitted Hamilton, wasn't it, that Bottas was starting to block Vettel off.
Yeah.
So Bottas was blocking Vettel. Because Bottas hadn't stopped, but Vettel and Hamilton had.
Yeah, and Vettel was on the soft tyres, so should have been doing the it's hammer time thing.
Yeah, but couldn't. There was some... I mean, we might as well talk about Mercedes as well.
Yeah.
It was the ghost of Eddie Irvine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was for those 2 laps of defensive driving for Valtteri Bottas was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Just putting your car exactly where the person behind you does not want you to put your car.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily on the inside line or the outside line or the fastest line, because you can always change, as Vettel eventually did, sort of double dummy to get past him. But
which he could have lost big style because he had 2 wheels on the grass when he finally made that pass on Bottas.
Yeah. But it's
a great move.
It was a great move.
Brave.
Bloody risky.
Yeah. But it was... The defensive driving from Bottas was just being in the annoying place where you couldn't put your car on the inside and for fear of running out wide. You couldn't go around the outside because it was too far around to go because there was a car in the way. It was a great defensive display from Bottas without being unsporting. Do you know what I mean? It was on the edge of being a bit rude.
Sadly, though, this is where the good news begins and ends for Bottas.
He had a power unit failure and had to change engines. He still had a couple in the pool. And then when they changed them, they realised, well, hang on a second, this one doesn't work. We're going to have to change back to the original one. And they changed back to the original one, which had been used for the first 3 races, was it, of the season?
Yeah.
And then it went kaput on lap 40-ish.
But I think
or as we put it, that looks a bit fiery.
I think that was the least of his bad luck as well for the race, unfortunately, because... He's gone from winning his first race at the
Crash down
last Grand Prix. Yeah, but it's not just that. It's the fact that he was so quickly sacrificed
Yeah.
You know that they regardless of.
Well, I think that's because of the opening laps. Hamilton and Vettel were 8 seconds clear of him.
Oh yeah. But he didn't have the pace to race either of them.
No.
And I genuinely believe.
But if he was on an older engine, that'll be one without upgrades.
Yeah, but I don't think that's not enough for the deficit between him and Hamilton.
Possibly not, but
because it was huge, you know. But I genuinely think that's it now. That's him. He is
weathered.
Caraccalo'd. Yeah, Webbered, Irvined,
Yeah.
Bassett. The list of the fine number twos is endless. But apparently he was beside himself after the race. You know, when he was being interviewed and stuff, like he was really down about everything, and it not just retiring from the race, just the position
just
he did
not
now.
being anywhere near Hamilton.
Yeah. So, but this is what we were saying last week. I mean, it must be worse for him because he'll have obviously read all the press and stuff. You know, and you've got people like us constantly going on and saying, "Well, does this mean we have Bottas in the hunt for a championship now?" Now he's over 30 points adrift. And it's, if you were Mercedes, you would be a fool not to put all your eggs in Hamilton's basket for this race because I don't think Bottas. I don't think Bottas is good enough to hang with them.
Yeah, he ate the road.
Not a race after race.
Hamilton just ate that road up.
Yeah.
All weekend.
Yeah.
Just he had the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doesn't have anyone telling him what not to eat. He's find his personal trainer.
Well, yeah, was that why he's so heavy breathing in the car at one point?
Yeah. I
Don't
know.
need some advice, man.
That seemed to be built up though, because whenever else he came on the radio, it was just normal.
He did it a couple of times.
Yeah, it was more than once.
Yeah, no, it was more than once. But then when he came on the radio later on, it was just him talking on the radio.
Unless there was one particular part of the circuit that he found it hard. Maybe just turn 3.
The other thing I've thought as well is to think about this was maybe the Ferrari was still a better race car, and Hamilton won that race.
Yeah, because the strategy again, because Ferrari put Vettel onto the soft tyres.
Yeah. Well, no, because he said even
Hamilton went onto mediums.
Even during the race, Hamilton radioed in and said it's really hard to stay with him.
Yeah.
It was also a masterstroke by Mercedes getting Lewis in for that pit stop just as the virtual safety car was ending.
Yeah.
Because that lost him the absolute minimum amount of time. And the no track position.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes out of the pits, faster tyres.
Yeah.
And then, the call is go out and win it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think...
and was it Vettel said he came past it? They said no chance. He came like a train.
Yeah.
Just came past him like a train. So.
Yeah.
Do you think Ferrari missed a trick bringing Vettel in? They might as well have done.
I think they got it wrong. I think Ferrari got their pit stop.
No, I mean at the end of the race, when they said
because they on slow and medium tire at the end, there wasn't he?
Yeah, but they radioed him and asked about a plan C, which appeared to be bring him back in and stick him on the soft tyres to see if he can catch Hamilton.
Which would have made him a 3-stopper and put him about 38 seconds behind Hamilton.
Yeah, but this was the way I'm looking at it is
they were talking about that at about 10 laps to go, weren't they?
No, the first time they mentioned it was like 18 laps. There was because I remember Martin Brundle said if they're going to do this, they need to do it right now.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't have caught Hamilton.
But he wouldn't have been caught by...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they might as well have done it. If nothing else, it would have been a better car for him to drive for the last few laps of the race.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
It's a good way of thinking.
Yeah.
Good way of looking at it, I suppose. Good way of saying, well, yeah, okay, we might finish second.
Go out, yeah. He could have done his usual thing of setting fastest laps at the end of the race that he liked to do.
Yeah.
What do we think about the slight coming together after the stop when Hamilton and Vettel touched?
Good.
It's
racing.
Some of the hardest racing we've seen in a while, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's hard racing, and there was what was that rule or something that Hamilton was supposed to come back onto the circuit
on the other side of a bollard.
But there were speed bumps and everything that would have completely destroyed the race.
It would have destroyed his car.
He only has to that you only have to come back in on that bollard
if you miss the corner.
if you go over the speed bumps.
Right.
If you go over the speed bumps, then you've got to come back in long way around. But he didn't go over the speed bumps.
And he also didn't miss the corner.
Yeah.
He made this. He made
Yeah,
turn 2
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So I think that's why the stewards decided there was no further action. Hard racing is what I want to see. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
do you know what they should do? They should get rid of the fucking sausage curbs and make sure that drivers are penalised for going out outside the circuit.
They should get rid of sausage curbs and scoop them out of the ground instead. Then they won't run over them.
Mines! Boom, boom.
Well, he's fixed Formula 1 and broken world peace.
Do you anybody remember the original touring car game for the original Codemasters touring car game? That had a mine setting on it, or a tank, was it?
Oh yeah, one of the cheat modes you could race tanks.
You could race a tank. It wasn't very quick, but
No.
it did have a gun.
I'm just looking forward to the new Micro Machines when it comes out next month.
Yeah.
Because that'll have tanks and weapons, and the first trailer's out, and it's got Brian Blessed doing the voiceover.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Not very fast, but has a gun tends to be the USP of a tank.
Yes.
Imagine a fast tank with a gun.
That can fly, and that's a plane.
No.
Damn it.
So overall, I think that was that
Best
was
race
not
of the season.
not a
Yeah.
wasted weekend.
Yeah.
Definitely, 5 races in, and that is top of my list.
Do you know what the other thing it proves as well? It only takes 2 drivers to make a good race. I know there was some good racing up and down the field,
Yeah.
but
And
even if...
I am loving not knowing which team's going to win a race.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Right, Hamilton overtook Vettel to win that race. When was the last time you can remember a driver overtaking another driver to win a race?
If Hamilton hadn't managed to get that overtake,
Yeah.
Vettel would have overtaken Hamilton to win the race.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a race, first and second, for a race win.
Yeah.
Going back to your question, I did ask Sean Kelly in a tweet, but he never replied.
Ah.
Was it? It's got to be Hamilton and Rosberg, hasn't it?
No, because I don't think the way they
In Austria last
worked.
when they came together. Yeah, when Rosberg.
Yeah, was that an overtake, or was that a little sort of crashy manoeuvre that didn't go?
It was an
to
overtake
plan?
on Hamilton's part, but it was Rosberg decided that the corner was like 4 times wider than it actually was.
See, I think that's apart from that one race was it when did Rosberg and Hamilton have their really close race?
Abu Dhabi.
That was that's the.
Or was it Bahrain?
Yeah.
Bahrain a few years ago.
Yeah, the Jewel in the Desert.
Yeah.
That was the only decent Rosberg versus Hamilton race we got in the whole of them being teammates together. In the whole of Mercedes' dominance, that was the one good split them with a piece of paper race we've had.
Yeah.
And we're coming off the end of last season with Lewis driving as slow as he can to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, last season was Lewis trying to win a championship where his car kept blowing up. Yeah, that's top and bottom of it is the Rosberg looked a championship.
That's one way of putting it. Right. We have very little written down on the news.
There's not an awful lot of news. That's why there's vague talks.
There's vague talks about Brabham making a return.
And there were some jokes made on the grid, but please don't look into them as any more than jokes between.
I don't know, because I've seen it mentioned in a couple of other places before Sunday.
But it might not be Bernie, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I would rather have Force India staying as Force India than have Bernie run Brabham.
The other person that's interested in buying the team, and it's still renaming it to Brabham, and it's nothing to do with Bernie, is actually David Brabham, who is heading a consortium.
Yes. Brabham, of course, still race GT cars. David Brabham is the head of Brabham GT.
Yeah. Now, if David Brabham was to buy the team and rename it Brabham and there was no Bernie involvement, I wouldn't object to that.
No, I wouldn't at all.
That would be legitimately Brabham, unlike various Lotuses.
I think Force India deserve to stay there. They deserve to build a legacy because they're doing so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Force India is a terrible name.
It is a terrible name. Brabham is a much better name, but regardless of names, there's.
I mean, don't forget we are now saying that Spiker is doing incredibly well, if you think about it, along with Midland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the problem that there's always the grey shadow of, like, were finance over Force India. And
isn't one of Force India's main shareholders currently in prison?
Two.
Both of them.
Well, Vijay Mallya and his business associates are currently both under police conditions, shall we say.
House arrest.
Yes.
Right.
So no, it's not too bad when your house covers like fucking 2 countries though.
No, exactly. Honestly, I'm just going home to get to this plane.
But the way things are at the moment is Vijay Mallya is looking for 250 million for the team. Everybody else is valuing it at 150 million. There's going to have to be a compromise soon, or there isn't going to be a team anymore.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. I'd rather it get sold and slapped a different name on it, and those people keep jobs and stuff. Yeah, and just disappear.
Keep the staff at the factory.
Yeah.
Talk of the factory, which is next to Silverstone.
Yes.
Talking of Silverstone, there's everybody in Britain panic immediately and throw your arms in the air. The British Grand Prix might be in doubt again.
Heck, I need a cup of tea.
Exactly.
British Grand Prix is in doubt. Is it May already?
It must be. Now, Bernie Ecclestone, as head of Formula One last year, agreed in principle to doing a deal that would be better for Silverstone to hold.
I'm sure Bernie Ecclestone agreed to a lot of things when he knew it wasn't going to be him that was sorting it out.
Probably, but to hold the Formula One Grand Prix for a certain number of years under an improved deal. And Formula One's, I don't want to call them new owners anymore because they're not, but Formula One management as it is now, Formula One as the entity is now, have decided that we're not going to adhere to that because we don't think it's fair on other circuits. I can see that point straight away. Why would Silverstone get preferential treatment over other circuits?
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I can.
This may lead to BRDC looking to put Silverstone up for sale again.
Except, haven't FOM been saying the deals for the circuits are really bad, we ought to do something about that?
That's the thing. They've come in and they've got to sort out this unholy mess that Bernie has created. With circuit owners, billionaires, dictators, arms dealers.
Who did the deal for the Turkish Grand Prix? In principle for next year.
Exactly.
Chase Carey,
president of Turkey, President Erdogan.
Yeah.
Chase Carey did had a good statement when he was talking about what state Bernie had Formula One in, where when he was asked what it was like to oversee like the running of Formula One, and he replied to that by saying it's like turning around and every road you walk down you find frustration, and I don't think this Silverstone getting the deal that Bernie might have had in place, because to be perfectly honest, they probably wouldn't have got the deal that Bernie put in place anyway. No. It was probably Bernie fucking lobbying for something. I don't think there's any problems here, because it's probably more on the fact of
you can have the race, but I want the blood of your firstborn.
Yeah, but it's probably just Liberty go, right, well, no, you can't have that deal because we didn't decide it with you, and the deals that I'll go forward from now will be deals that are struck with Liberty. Why would Liberty adhere to somebody else? Like why would he honour somebody else's deals?
I can understand that.
Sorry, you have made a perfectly logical business argument.
I make loads of logical statements. Now and again, I throw a tits or a wank in.
Right. Okay. And we're back in the room. I think Liberty will be speaking to the BRDC, and I think something will be sorted out. Liberty want the European races, the historic European races, to continue. Mm-hmm.
So are they saying you're sticking with the old terms, or are they actually saying you're not having whatever Bernie Ecclestone has told you that you get
I saw it as that you're not having Bernie's deal.
But we will sort something out.
Yeah.
We'll do better than it used to be.
And I wouldn't mind betting that, because all these circuits, apart from the ones that are dropping off the calendar, obviously, but I think, is it 2020 or 20?
2020 is the new Concord Agreement.
Yeah, oh no, but when is the deal up for Silverstone?
2027, I think, is the last Grand Prix that would be held there.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of business and there's a lot of meetings that are going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when you consider the amount of juggling that Chase Carey and Sean Blanchett as
Bratches.
Bratches. I thought it was Blanchett.
No, Bratches.
What they're doing.
I nearly said something then.
It really makes it more sensible for them to do it on a race by race basis when they're fucking there in their new truck, which we've now seen they have.
Yeah.
And speak to these people and the promoters and the owners face to face on the race weekends.
With everything that's going on with all the circuits and everything that Bernie's put in place, can you imagine the size of Chase Carey's inbox? His inbox will be full of relevant mails as all ours are of spam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, just going back to that point, when the new Concord Agreement comes out in 2020, that would be Chase Carey's chance to wipe the slate clean, essentially, and be like, right, this is how we want to run the sport.
Yeah.
And this is how
Well,
we
I
want
don't
to
think
do
it'll be
it.
this is how we want to run the sport. This will be this is how we are going to run the sport.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
It's a 4 or 5 year transition period because there will be knock on effects going into sort of 21, 22. They've got to redesign everything because
Well, they're looking after the small things first, which is great. Like, how can I tell the difference between Ocon and Perez? Make your numbers a bit bigger. Maybe stick the names on the side of the car.
yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, why don't we do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah,
but it's
things,
so effective
things
as well.
like fan outreach, the lifting the ban on social media because they know what an internet is and don't have to have the Twitter read out to them every
Absolutely,
morning by their
well,
secretary.
Yeah.
And case in point, if the cameras had picked up the crying Kimi fan last year under Bernie, would he have had as much coverage? Would he have ended up in the Ferrari garage?
No.
I think so, because that's the team. That's
yeah,
not.
that's the team.
I don't know if it was Ferrari PR or if it was Formula One PR.
I think it was Formula One PR that sorted him out with the passes.
Somebody went and
Because
got him and his mum.
Formula One still have the final say on who gets to go into hospitality areas and into the garage. Because I only found this out last week because Williams are running a competition the weekend of the British Grand Prix, where the first prize is to sleep in a very large, very luxurious king-size bed in the Williams garage between the cars.
Why?
Why?
I don't know. And they've had to get that cleared by Formula One to allow garage access.
So what happened? I'm very confused. Why would you want to? I don't know. Why would you want to sleep between the Williams cars at night time when there's no one there and nothing is happening?
I can understand why Jolyon Palmer would want to sleep next to his car. Just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere or no one else gets into it.
The easiest way to make sure that Jolyon Palmer's car doesn't go anywhere is put Jolyon Palmer in it.
I'm almost certain that they'd have cameras on you as well.
They do
sleeping.
have cameras, motion detection cameras over the cars in the garage at night, which are low definition and switch to high def if anything moves on there, so they can tell if anyone's breaking park firmware regulations.
So if you win this competition and you're in the garage and there's no one around, you're still not allowed to sit in the car and go vroom vroom vroom.
No.
Well, why enter then?
Like, what's the point in that?
But yeah,
the award for that's the most smedliest of competitions I have ever heard of.
But yeah, you get to spend Saturday night at British Grand Prix weekend in the Williams garage.
You get woken up at 6 a.m. when all the mechanics come in.
I think you get to watch the whole race weekend from the garage as well.
What
in bed.
Yeah. what would happen is the mechanics would walk in and say, "Come on, Lee, we need you to get up." I go, "It's one of those mornings.
Yeah, I can't move.
My DRS is open.
I'm up already."
Yeah. Well, please, can you send the mechanics out just for?
Or Claire Williams, that'll fix it.
I was going to go for one of the cold air blowers. But yeah, apparently that is a thing. But where were we? Yeah, the way that Formula One are sorting things out. I've noticed they started the Twitter feed last year. It wasn't great. They've now got the YouTube channel. There's highlights on there.
Yeah.
During the race.
Yeah.
They've learned from other series.
Well, the thing
sports.
is,
Yeah.
no, they haven't learned because they know.
Well, they've brought
yeah.
in the good stuff
Yeah.
and kept the right turns.
I think the thing is, he obviously, or Liberty in general, think that Formula One is lacking the fans that it should have from where it is at the minute. So rather than try and expand the sport, I think they're trying to consolidate what it is and get the viewing figures up to where they think it should be. And then from that place, then they'll try and expand.
I think Liberty Media as a whole, they've got experience of doing this before. Not with Chase Carey, but Liberty Media as a company.
Yeah.
Because they are used to taking over something from a power-crazed billionaire and making it more public, because they bought the Atlanta Braves baseball team from Ted Turner.
Oh. America know a few things about power-crazed billionaires right now, don't they?
Saying nothing. Moving swiftly on. Right.
Taste test time.
Taste test time. We
This
have
right here. Do you want to hold that up to a camera?
I am holding it up to a camera.
Is that viewable?
I think it's viewable. That is
Shall I hold it up to that one?
Do you want to hold it up to that one? And
Because that one's the one with the light. This is Lewis Hamilton's number 44 Monster Energy drink, which we're going to do a taste test of. You've probably already tried it because it's been in and around Europe for a little while. I'll give it a little read of the side, because Sean read this out to me yesterday whilst we were doing a live blog, and it just sounds ridiculous.
Does it?
When you're 3-time F1 world champion Lewis Hamilton, life moves at 15,000 RPM and 200 miles per hour. A man who exists in a world of milliseconds demands a drink that can keep up. When we partnered with Lewis to create 44, our R&D team worked flat out to engineer the quickest monster ever. Like, there's cogs and shit in this.
So they didn't just stick Monster in a different colour can? Have I got all this wrong?
You haven't tried this yet.
I want to go to Lewis Hamilton's world of milliseconds.
It's life moves. It is a world of milliseconds. You're quite correct. A man who exists in a world of milliseconds. Come to Lewis Hamilton.
That sounds
so much more fun than Nick Heidfeld's world of disappointment.
But you don't get a lot for your money.
That also sounds like the blurb before a superhero film. A man that lives in a world full of milliseconds.
Light, crisp, and refreshing with a fast finish. It gets you out front and pulling away. It's then signed by Lewis Hamilton.
Except in Abu Dhabi.
Except in the desert where you go really slowly.
Whoever fucking wrote that, I wish their parents had pulled away.
Oh,
This, of course, is the third celebrity version of Monster that I know of.
Have we got? We should have.
We're just gonna have to pass the can round between us.
No,
Otherwise
I've got a cup.
There's coffee dregs in that.
It's fine. Cup, tin.
Right.
Yes. Cup. Lee,
you can be mother.
Right, I'll be mother. Oh my god, it's warm.
We're allowing Lee to be mother.
Oh, it's
ribbed for your pleasure.
It is. It's got like it's got a texture.
The Rossi monster can't have a bit of a texture.
For those not watching on YouTube, Lee is holding the can.
It's like somewhere between a metal and a rubber. Or
still talking about the can,
or a metallic orange.
Still talking about the can.
Right.
Oh,
very nice. Very
Nicely
nice.
done.
This is fucking terrible.
Now, I've not seen what colour it is because I've had it before, but I've only drunk it out of the can.
It's the same colour as all energy drinks are. It's this colour of Red Bull. Yeah. There we go. Oh, it looks. It's dehydrated piss.
Is it? Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly the colour.
This is
why it's in cans.
You look at it and you go,
see it.
There's blood in that.
YouTubers aren't going to be able to see this without.
So oh my god, that's vile.
Taste test.
Here we go.
That's horrible. I need more.
The nose is fresh and fruity.
I have never had a fruit that tastes like that or smells like that.
I don't like it.
It tastes of artificial grape flavour with an artificial sweetener aftertaste.
Is that what it is?
It tastes like energy drink.
Grape.
It's meant to be grape.
It's not. It's horrible.
It tastes like grape bubble gum.
No, Lewis Hamilton loses in the energy drink stakes, I'm afraid.
Valentino Rossi, you are still winning that one.
No, well, it's all. I'm quite happy to say that this is the first energy drink I've had since Robert Kubica's energy drink. I don't drink this shit generally.
Because it's really cleaned up this mug, though.
Yeah, cause
same here.
Yeah,
this mug is really clean.
Yeah,
now.
about a year ago we tried the Robert Kubica one, and that was it was harmless enough.
Oh. You did not just say that.
I said it at the time.
Oh God!
I am on heavy duty painkillers and now large amounts of caffeine. Cheers.
No,
it's
sleep.
It's like someone's sugared my teeth.
August.
That's the only problem. It does leave you with a very furry mouth. No.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway,
I've got far more class than you give me credit for.
Far more crass, was that? Sorry.
Yeah, that's more like it. Other news. Not got a great deal, really.
No, there's not been an awful lot of news. Fernando Alonso's testing Indy 500 cars, so by the time this goes out and people are listening to it on podcast form, Alonso will have done some actual qualifying.
Yes, it was the rookie session today in Indianapolis. The actual rookie testing now for the rookies that have passed the
initial
orientation.
rookie.
Yeah.
So they've all qualified to drive there, or to try and qualify. They've all qualified to qualify.
They're qualified for qualifying.
Yeah,
right.
by doing consistent laps over 215 miles an hour on average.
Yeah.
And what it looks like is, and this is going to come as a great surprise, Alonso's the fastest rookie.
No way.
Who would have thought?
Double world
rookies.
I'm just having a look to see who is on the rookie list, and we've got someone called Ed Jones.
Mrs. Jones's son.
Yeah, that's about it.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
Zach Veach.
No.
And Sebastian Saavedra. No.
Sounds like a mashup of lots of Formula One drivers' names.
Just, isn't it? A
Franken
driver, if you will.
Yes.
And the second fastest was another Spanish driver, Oriol Servia.
Will you now?
Yes, apparently he will. Standard, not regular practice for the regular drivers is starting soon, because of course in Indianapolis they have it's like the TT, they have weeks of practice leading up to the race.
That's a proper porn star name.
What, leading up to the TT?
Oral Servia.
Moving swiftly on, Chris, get the guitar out. Lee, have you got some questions?
Got loads of them. I'll find some. I asked, and the listeners answered.
Because we were so...
I've got a backlog of
excellent.
Lees now.
Chris, do you have a backlog of tunes?
I have a backlog of requests, one of which I am working on. One of our regular listeners and contributors knows about this, because I've been in conversations. But for now, Radiohead appears to have been universally accepted as the best one that was ever done. So I'm gonna revisit Radiohead. I don't know how this is gonna work. It might not work.
I'm disappointed that you're not doing They Might Be Giants.
That's one of the ones that's in the pipeline. Who's a turtle? Who's a turtle shan't? Who's a turtle? Who's a turtle shan't? Lee's got some questions for us. We have to try and work out who he is. Shut out again. That's enough.
Already.
Yeah.
Look. Close that. Can't close the other laptop. That's the one that's streaming YouTube.
But you've not got comments available.
I will minimise that window.
And then we can have a look later to see if YouTube has got it before we.
Yeah.
So I can't see it. I can't see any of the comments. I've got nothing. This is all on us.
Oh shit! I can see them. I can see the answers.
That's all right though, because you're.
That's all right because you're asking the questions.
Right. Okay. Good.
You don't have to guess.
Right. Okay.
Otherwise, you'd get it on the first question.
Good.
That's what I was thinking.
Right, first.
I was just trying to work out. How I haven't won this yet.
What the hell was in that Lewis Hamilton monster?
Something that makes us not think. This is what it is, isn't it? Hamilton's handing out cans of.
I was born
Da-da-da-da-dum.
in 1973.
1973, so that would make you 44.
this year.
Are you a can of
spring
Lewis?
chicken? Are you drinkable?
No.
Are you Nick Heidfeld?
Oh, come on, it wasn't that disappointing.
Right, no, serious times now.
Okay,
so Lewis Hamilton drink
we're
has
looking
sent
for
us
somebody
Luby.
who is 44 this year.
44 this year. Yeah, so somebody probably the peak of their motorsport career around about 10 to 15 years ago, should we say. Unless it was very
Nick
short-lived.
Heidfeld.
Yeah, possibly. Unless it was
Alex Wirtz.
Unless it was, a little bit of a short-lived career, short span, maybe 1 or 2 races, and this is an incredibly difficult one. But yeah, I think
Which sometimes they are.
Dan's in the right vein, I think, sort of thinking Alex Wirtz sort of style driver.
Racing engineering was my first team.
Racing Engineering, of course, being our pet Formula 2 team.
Yes.
Although now Norman Natto's not driving for him anymore, not as such. Right, Racing Engineering are Spanish.
Are they?
Yes. As I found out during the F2 race, I always thought they were French.
So Pedro de la Rosa's about 44, is he?
That sounds about the right age for him,
Or is
yeah.
he's older than that, isn't he, even, Pedro de la Rosa? Because I think his last Formula 1 race, he was 40.
Although, according to Lee, he's turning into Nelson Piquet.
He is a little bit, though.
Yeah.
No, that was a good shout. Pedro de la Piquet. So what are we thinking at the moment? Possibly De La Rosa, possibly Alex Wirtz.
How old's Jacques Villeneuve?
He's not
He's-
sure. He's got to be.
He's older than that, I think.
I would think he's probably late 40s, early 50s now. Jacques Villeneuve,
I would think so, yeah.
possibly.
While in Dam's team, I also took part in A1.
Ooh.
Right, okay, so that means they probably weren't very good.
The Dams team is the Renault team, isn't it?
It is in Formula E.
Pedro Diniz.
Yeah, he wasn't very good either.
And Spanish.
Brazilian.
But it's the same thing.
Except for the nationality and the language, it's spot on.
And a few thousand miles, but yeah.
But hey,
Well, you need to guess.
we're all citizens of the globe.
Yes.
Right, we need to give an answer after the third one. So what are we thinking? So far, good guesses so far include Alex Wirtz, Jacques Villeneuve, who I think is possibly a bit older than that,
I think so, yeah.
and somebody said something else that sounded quite good at one point.
De La Rosa.
Pedro de la Rosa,
yeah.
Ricardo Zonta, who did a lot of racing in low formulas before BAR snapped him up.
Now, hang on, A1 though. It was that silly thing that we spoke about
That
last
was
week.
that was the Nations
World
Cup.
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah.
Now, which drivers went on from there to do anything?
Yeah, but they also had drivers on the way down. It was kind of the Formula E of its time.
Right. Okay. All right then. So,
So
what do we go?
you need
Make
a
a
guess.
guess. Somebody else make a guess. I think Dan's Alex Wirtz guess is probably the best, but I don't know if he was in A1.
I don't think so, no.
This is why I'm thinking possibly Zonta.
Let's go with
Go with
Zonta.
Zonta.
Are you Ricardo Zonta?
Not Ricardo Zonta.
Damn.
I competed with the Renault Formula 1 team.
Nick Heidfeld.
I'd be very disappointed if it was.
I think he's the right age.
He's probably.
It was
that.
it was his birthday the other day.
Was it?
And
When did Heidfeld sort of appear? It was about
2000.
I think it was 1973.
because he was winning everything, and totally destroying Formula 3000 as it used to be then before he came into Formula 1. And I just thought he was a little bit younger than 27 when he came into Formula 1.
Well, let's have a look at Renault Formula 1 drivers, shall we? Because it's not going to be anybody who was in the original Renault in the 80s. So Renault took over from Benetton in 2002, 2003? And we've had since then Fernando Alonso, not 44. Giancarlo Fisichella?
Ooh.
Jarno Trulli? Who else has been as a Renault driver in Formula 1 before they became...
Before they went back... went
Nelson
to Lotus.
Piquet Jr. is too young.
Yeah. Jacques Villeneuve.
Was he a Renault Formula 1 driver?
Stood in for a couple of races.
So possibly still Jacques Villeneuve.
Jenson Button, but too young.
He was Benetton, wasn't he, when he was...
He did... no, he did... he was there at the switch.
Was he? Was he not Benetton Play Life?
And then Renault.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure. Obviously, I'd say to Lee for confirmation, but he's not going to tell us.
Heikki Kovalainen was a Renault driver for a year. But he's not 44.
He's not a driver.
He won a race.
By default.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we go for the next clue.
Yeah.
What I was going to give you now. My highest championship position was 4th.
So not Jacques Villeneuve.
Not Jacques Villeneuve.
Jarno Trulli, Giancarlo Fisichella.
Either of them finished that high in the championship?
I will also say, before controversy, these are not my questions.
Who is responsible for these tonight?
Robert Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
I was so happy that because I hadn't looked at the name when I did it. I was so happy it was something I could say when I looked at the top of the screen.
I'd go with Fizzy.
Who would he have finished? I guess he could have finished 4th with Renault.
Or with Ferrari.
Yeah.
Oh, he only did.
How was
half a
Jordan?
season.
He only did
How
half.
was Jordan back then?
Oh, he was the last person to win a race for Jordan, wasn't he?
He was, and the last person to win a race for Ford.
We still don't have to give one until the next question anyway, do we?
No. But to me, it's Trulli or Fisichella at the moment.
Could be.
I studied spacecraft engineering.
Somebody else want to make the rocket science joke because I can't.
Spacecraft engineering.
I'd have said rocket scientist.
Yeah. I think Giancarlo Fisichella is a good one to go with because I know a little bit about Jarno Trulli if the next one...
And he's not a rocket scientist.
No, but I'm pretty sure... I don't think Jarno Trulli...
His family make very nice wine.
Yes, he makes the nice wine. And it's available in local supermarkets sometimes.
Yeah, I've bought Trulli vineyard wine over here before. Yeah. It's only about £6 a bottle.
Yeah, it says Trulli on the bottle.
Yeah.
Really? Sorry. Obviously, the joke would have been to say truly, but so in my head that was funny.
Go with
Fizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, Chris.
Are you Giancarlo Fisichella?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'll tell you something else though.
Go on.
My middle name is Renee.
Renee.
Jarno Rene Trulli doesn't sound right. Pedro Rene De La Rosa doesn't sound right.
That's far too many names. Too many names for one man.
And also the Rene wouldn't be in the middle, would it?
No, because it would be Pedro Rene De La Rosa something else, because in Spain you have two surnames because you have your mum's maiden name as part of your surname as well.
Maybe it was his first name and he ditched it.
Middle name is Renee.
That'd make you think French, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, but Jarno Trulli is Italian, and his first name comes from his parents' favourite Finnish rally driver. Jarno, something with lots of K's and Y's in it.
So you're thinking maybe they named him after their favourite sitcom cafe owner as well.
I was going to go for their favourite Renault driver, René Arnoux. Because I once heard Murray Walker call him Renault Arnay by mistake.
Very good. Right, go on, next one then.
I have close ties to Jerome D'Ambrosio.
Jerome D'Ambrosio?
Yeah. Easy for me to say.
Jerome D'Ambrosio is a Belgian driver.
Belgian Formula E driver.
I think you find he's a DJ. I'm thinking of Algisuari. Carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerome D'Ambrosio is Belgian. Did drive for Manor, or Virgin as they were.
It was Virgin. It was Virgin at the time. Now has retired to Formula E. I watched a bit of Monaco at the weekend, and they only raced around a bit of Monaco.
Which team did Trulli race for in Formula E?
His own.
Which team did D'Ambrosio race for?
It might have been Trulli's.
Well, hang on, we only get 3 guesses. We've only got 1 left.
This isn't a guess. This is a hypothesis.
If we're talking about rocket science,
it's not exactly tree surgery now, is it?
You get another question anyway, don't you, before you got to make.
Should we have the next question?
You got 2 more. 2 more. Is it 2 more? Yeah, 2 more.
So we've only got like 9 clues today.
No, it's 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, you got 3. Sorry, 3. I joined Formula One in 2010.
Oh, that's actually quite a long time ago, but
and that's not Trulli.
Not Trulli.
Really?
Honestly.
Truly. Oh no.
So that sounded like, what is that, an advert for his wine? Really, honestly, truly.
Yeah.
Calvin Klein.
It's not
for men.
true. 2010 Renault drivers were.
Yeah.
Kimi Raikkonen and Romain Grosjean, weren't they?
Kimi René Raikkonen?
Romain René Grosjean.
But he's
pretty sure he's not 44.
Neither of those two are 44.
No. Reserve drivers.
Marc René Genet?
Marc René Genet.
Sounds like an 80s synth pop band, or the members of an 80s synth pop band.
I think we're going to need another clue.
Here we are.
I'm still in Formula One, but I'm involved with the McLaren Honda team.
Eric René Boulier?
Oh, it's got to be. Yeah. It's got to be Eric René Boulier. 44. His racing engineering was his first team. Then he went on to Dams.
You have 1 more clue. Would you like me to give you the last clue?
Yeah,
Yes.
These facts are unsubstantiated, but apparently I ate all of the pies.
Yes! Are you Eric Boulier?
I am Eric
Boulier. Oh, yes.
That's only my second ever one.
Eric René Boulier.
Robert sent that in today about 12:30, I think it was, and I thought it was that good. It jumped the queue.
Very good.
Yes.
Only one guest on YouTube, and that's Ben Magoon, who said Andre Lotterer.
Andre Lotterer still is German.
Yeah.
Was German. I was terrible
Belgian, isn't he?
I thought he was German.
Well, he's not eating all the pies. General lack of pies. Shall we do Formula E?
Yes, let's.
And shall we make a big Formula E announcement?
Yes.
Because we've not put this out on social media yet.
Oh, we're not? I thought we had.
We haven't, no.
We
So,
have prizes.
from this race, the top 3 get prizes.
Yep.
There is the £10 Amazon voucher from Ultraflix
Yep.
for the winner. And second and third get upgrade codes for Apex Racing Manager, who have very kindly donated those to us for every week. Although I don't know how it's going to work out if some people get second and third more than once, because you can only upgrade the game once to the full pro version.
Oh right, okay.
But we'll think of something. We'll think of something. So yeah, we have prizes to give out.
How did we do in the 3 legs, 4 wheels room to start with, Paul?
Terribly.
Did you not enjoy Spain, Dan?
No, I had no traction off the back wheels.
Did you not tweak yourself?
What was that, Julian?
It was the car, it wasn't me.
Did you not maybe try a few different setups to get good
yeah,
one that worked for you?
I could get a setup that worked for me, and it was only about 3 seconds slower than anyone else.
Oh no! Ooh. Oh no!
So you are now Jolly Ankers.
Excellent. That's all I've ever wanted to be.
Well, the good news is you weren't last. Out of the 30 entries for this race, you were 29th.
Place.
Daniel Palmer.
125.1.
That sounds like a real drive.
It does, doesn't it?
I was third, 123.9. This next thing that I'm going to say means that the Monaco Formula Lee Challenge is going to be evil because Lee came second out of the 4 of us.
Oh no!
Oh no, I knew that.
Oh right, okay. With 123.048, and Chris takes the 3 legs 4 wheels honours this week with a 122.964 and 14th place overall, still outside the points.
That's all right. I'll take that. 14th.
Yep.
Not bad.
Right, on to...
One of us will get points eventually.
One day. On to the top 10. 10th place, we've got Ian Walker, who got his time in early because he was in Barcelona at the weekend.
Cool. The stalker, Ian Walker.
No, the bus driver.
Oh.
And he went by coach. It was literally a busman's holiday.
Oh,
Sorry, he tried to give you a cool nickname and he shot down. Fucked it, didn't he?
I've known him for about 25 years. There's many nicknames for him, and some of them are repeatable.
Oh.
Used to come into my clothes shop and buy Alice Cooper t-shirts.
Did Alice Cooper not buy his own t-shirts?
Yeah.
He's a busy man. He had a Frankenstein to feed.
Like, did he not mind?
Apparently not. But yeah, Ian is...
Welcome to my nightmare. I have no t-shirts.
It's okay, I'll just send Ian Walker to Paul's shop.
Yeah, that'll do.
Other victims of this were Iggy Pop.
Lust for clothing. Ian's time anyway was 122.781.
Iggy was the passenger.
Hey.
Right, we've got a surprise in 9th place, and
ladies and gentlemen, stand up for this one.
It's a name that we have never mentioned on the podcast in relation to a Formula League point scoring time before.
Is it Lewis Hamilton?
No. It's the slow Greek Nick Patakis.
Nick Patakis, you are the fast
points.
Yes. Well done, Nick.
Well done, Nick. 122.681. That is 9th place. You have cracked the points for the first time. Actually, you've cracked the top 20 for the first time.
You Pascal Wehrlein this race.
I'm calling cheating.
No, not at all.
And Nick was only just beaten by a rail racing driver, James Holman. 122.362.
Nice effort, James.
Pete Bull in 7th, 122.281. Freddie Brunner in 6th, 122.193. Finn Wilson took 5th with a 122.166.
I've always liked the name Finn.
And then it gets tight at the top. Go on, Lee, you can have that one.
What?
It gets tight at the top? No.
No,
right, fair enough. Fourth place, just missing out on the prizes. Hang on, I've got my quiz host voice on it.
Just missing out on the prizes.
That'll do. 121.815 was Luke Nipper in 4th.
Ooh, good effort, Luke.
And our top 3, winning the Apex Racing Manager upgrade voucher in 3rd, Dave the Flying Flynn, 121.730.
Nice one.
2nd place, these are incredible times, Bradley Chambers, 121.411.
Awesome.
And winning again, and getting the Amazon voucher again.
Would that be Jeff?
That will be Jeff Sharp, 121.363, who then sent a tweet through saying, I'm sure there's a few more tents in there somewhere.
In a McLaren, mental.
Yeah. So, congratulations to all three prize winners. We will get those sorted out for you.
Now it's time for a Formula League that will separate the men from the boys.
Yeah. Can I just say, I'll send tweets out to the winners, but we just need to know for anyone that comes second or third whether you have an Android or an iPhone, because it's different codes for each.
Yeah. So just Facebook messages.
But I'll PM the three winners, and we'll get those codes and vouchers sorted out as soon as possible.
Now.
Men from boys.
Monaco.
It is.
Don't hate me.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Because there's a reason for this. So, naturally, we were McLaren in Spain, yeah?
Yeah, for Fernando.
Now, I believe that with the inclusion of Jenson Button at Monaco, it is only right to do McLaren again to do Monaco again in a McLaren.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have McLaren again.
Okay.
I also want us to drive it in the best conditions for Jenson to do well at Monaco.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
So I want rain, McLaren, sunset.
Rain, McLaren, sunset, Monaco.
You are an unadulterated, undisputed,
No,
undoubted.
I'm not doing it.
Sadist.
I'm doing this for good. We're channeling, we're asking the universe for stuff to make Buttons race better.
You meant to say something like, "This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you" when you.
No. Might have to do a few more laps. I only managed 10 laps this time because I've been so fucking busy. That was it, Paul. Yeah, actually, just before we go, it only took me 10 laps to beat you. That's just one.
Can I just point out that in the course of this challenge, I've been in hospital on an ECG monitor and an Iron Maiden gig.
I just also like to point out I didn't ask.
No, but, I had to palmer my excuses in there somewhere. The ECG worked out fine. I got boring heart rate.
I still haven't asked.
No, fair enough. So that's McLaren in the wet at sunset for Monaco. You have 2 weeks to do this. Closing date is the 29th.
Yeah.
At 7 o'clock. I think it's a bank holiday that day.
It is a bank holiday.
It is a bank holiday. So we'll have to record normal time on the bank holiday. Actually, we will anyway. I've got a gig at 10:30 the night before. I won't be able to move till about 3 o'clock that afternoon. Once you get to my age, you can't walk too well after a gig. Can't walk too well during one either.
You got in the bed before me, didn't you?
Yes. Thanks to everyone for listening, and if you want to get in touch, then we are more than welcome into everyone's tweets, Facebook messages, emails. You can get in touch on the Facebook page. Just look for 3 Legs 4 Wheels. Mm-hmm. We're on Twitter at 3 Legs 4 Wheels and
at Danbert.
At Flood21.
I'm at A Total Shunt.
And I'm at Pablo100. Mm-hmm. You can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. And we've also got the Patreon page where there's an extra podcast available. I say this every week for anyone that wants to donate to keep us going, keeps us in web hosting and large numbers of cables like this one so that we can actually get the YouTube feed working.
Yeah.
Because they need to be cat proof.
Well, that's it, because no doubt the other side of that has got fucking 3 cats hanging off it.
Yeah, it'll look like that motivational poster, the hang on in there.
Yeah.
It's a Cat 5 cable.
So you need 2 more cats.
Is that how many cats it can handle?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're all right, unless you don't get 2. Then again, Jensen counts as 3.
Yeah, he does 3.5 sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, get in touch. Any of
3.5 cats.
That's like Charlie Sheen's worst sitcom. So get in touch through any of those ways. We're all about on social media all the time during the week because we don't have lives.
No, just
pretty much.
Message me and I'll message you back.
Yeah. Just want to thank everyone for sending messages over the last few weeks. It's just that we've run a bit late, so we don't have time to go through anything at the moment because it's like 11:20.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, we read everything anyway, and we do get back to people. We'll be back next week. We'll have a preview of Monaco with my theory on what Red Bull are going to do.
Yeah.
Just want to give a shout out to thanks to Mark Lockwood, who is writing an article for the website, basically saying what the fuck is the Indy 500, because he lives in Indianapolis.
Oh, so thanks for that, Mark.
He's got first-hand experience. So there's no way he's not going to be able to do it now. I've just guilt shamed him into actually finishing it and sending it to us. Sorry, Mark. And we'll be back next week.
Hashtag not sorry.
And thanks for putting up with us being a day late last week. But Iron Maiden were absolutely awesome.
Well, there you go.
So some things had to be done. So we'll see you next week.
Okie dokie.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Keep your hair game up.